Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Shyam Kagod here. Now, before we start, if there is no issue with the sound, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up so that I understand and I can start the discussion. Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So yesterday, what we were discussing, we started with the discussion on the concept of fiscal policy, budget as well as finance commission. Now, before we continue the discussion, revise and continue the discussion, certain important announcements. As usual, I've given you a link of basically the important newspaper articles from the last couple of weeks, I should say, last couple of weeks from particular chapters, right? The fiscal policy, or for that matter, let's say the inflation as well as banking chapter. Now, please understand this. Just to make it abundantly clear, I have not given articles from Hindu newspaper because I believe you people are already reading Hindu newspaper. So in addition to reading Hindu newspaper, right, these are the important articles from Mint, Economic Times, Financial Express, etc. that you are supposed to read. Supposed to read for civil services. Okay. Again, please understand this is for GS paper 3. GS paper 3 economy. Okay. Now, apart from that, another very important announcement. Monday there will be no class. I'll repeat. Monday it's a holiday. There will be no class. And those who are wondering, sir, why Monday is not there? Monday is a new year. Right? I hope you know this pretty much clearly by now. Monday is a new year, right? The 1st of January. So Monday there will be no class. After today's class, I'll meet you on Tuesday. Okay. So on Tuesday there will be the next class. So with that particular caveat, let me start the discussion now. Yesterday, what we have done, we started with the concept of budget. We started with concept of budget. Right, the budget is an exercise. It's an annual exercise that is conducted by the union government. And when I say union government, do not ask me, sir, do the state governments also announce the budget or not? So of course, yes, every state government announces, union government also announces, but we are more focused on the union government's budget. So in case of union government budget, annually, it's an annual exercise, right? The government will announce a budget, and in the budget, multiple documents are presented. They'll be discussed. They'll be passed. The most important documents, as far as UPSC is concerned, for you people, is one appropriation bill, which talks about the expenses that the government will incur, right, from the Consolidated Fund of India, and the second one is right. A second one is basically the finance bill, which will give you information regarding the income sources from which all sources receipts are collected. After that, we have discussed how the budget is prepared, how the budget is passed, and then different types of deficits. Correct, different types of deficits. Before that, different concepts, right, such as gender budgeting, zero-based budgeting, right, etc. So in the context of deficits, what we've discussed yesterday, how do you understand what is a revenue receipt? How do you understand what is a capital receipt? What is right at the revenue expenditure as well as capital expenditure? A basic idea is simple here. Whenever you have an impact on asset or liability, whenever it changes assets or liabilities of the government, right, generally it is called as the capital side. It is called as capital side. On the other side, these are basically expenses or the incomes collected, expenses incurred or incomes collected during the day-to-day governmental activities. During the day-to-day government activities, that is basically a revenue side. A revenue side is further broken down into two parts: revenue expenditure, revenue receipts. Capital is further broken down into two parts: capital expenditure as well as capital receipts. Done. Now, after using all of this, after discussing all of this, we were discussing the concept of deficits. I've listed 6 types of deficits. In this slide, again, same point as we have discussed yesterday. I've listed 6 types of deficits. But out of 6, as of now, we calculate only 4. Remaining 2, we do not calculate, we have discontinued. One is the revenue deficit. Whenever the expenses under the revenue head is greater than the income, that is called as the revenue deficit. Second one is effective revenue deficit. The effective revenue deficit basically takes out the grants which are given by the government for creation of assets from the revenue expenditure. Because the argument is, whenever you talk about revenue, there should not be any expenses which are associated with assets. But there is one grant, one part of the revenue expenditure, that is a grant for creation of capital asset, which will lead to creation of asset, but not directly by the central government. That is the reason we will remove it and calculate something called as effective revenue deficit. Third one is a fiscal deficit. The borrowings of the government are called as fiscal deficit. And the fourth one is a primary deficit. It basically represents out of your borrowings, how much money are you using for current year expenses and how much money are you using for repayment of the interest. Now we are supposed to start with the discussion on the fifth as well as the sixth, budget deficit as well as monetized deficit. Listen to me very carefully now. Earlier, I'll write it here. Earlier, we used to calculate budget deficit. What is the concept of budget deficit? Let me explain this. Earlier, what government used to do is, government used to incur expenditure, and expenditure used to be higher than the receipts collected by the government. Very simple. Government used to incur expenses, propose expenses, and the receipts, that is the income collected, would be lower than the expenditure. Now, at that point of time, government used to borrow from market. Government used to borrow from market. Now, understand the technicality. Imagine your expenditure is 100 rupee. Your receipts are 60 rupee. Now, you have borrowed from the market, that is 20 rupee. Please look at the numbers and tell me, even after borrowing from the market, can I say there is a deficit? Let me know. Right? Please wake up. I've started discussion now. I've started the discussion. Okay. So your expenses are 100. You have borrowed 20. You already have borrowed 20. And your income sources are 60 rupees. Now, even after borrowing from the market, can I say there is a deficit? Deficit of how much? There is a deficit of 20 rupees. There is a deficit of 20 rupees. This was called as budget deficit. This was called as budget deficit. All of you okay with this? This was referred to as budget deficit. That is, in simple terms, total expenditure minus total receipts. Total expenditure minus total receipts. This was called as a budget deficit earlier. Today we do not calculate it. Why? Whatever is the gap between receipts and expenditure, today we directly borrow from market. I hope you understand the difference now. Today, under fiscal deficit, what we do? Whatever is the gap between expenditure and non-debt creating receipts, we directly borrow from the market. Complete amount we borrow from the market. But earlier, what used to happen? Despite borrowing from the market, there used to be a gap. There used to be a deficit. And this deficit, government used to satisfy this deficit from borrowing from RBI. They used to simply borrow this 20 rupees from Reserve Bank of India. Right now, please do let me know, all of you okay with the concept of budget deficit? Budget deficit is the difference between total expenditure and total receipts. And whatever was the deficit earlier, government used to borrow from Reserve Bank of India. Now, please tell me, are we still borrowing? Again, look at this number. Are we still borrowing directly from RBI? Are we allowed to borrow from RBI now? We are not allowed to borrow from RBI. Why? We realized that this kind of a model would add to inflationary trend in the market. This would add to inflationary pressures in the market. That is the precise reason this process of borrowing from RBI we have discontinued. Today we do not follow it, we have discontinued. But again, under extreme circumstances, RBI has an option. Normally, it is not allowed. Under extreme circumstances, many of you ask me, sir, what do you mean by extreme circumstances? Imagine COVID. Again, one more variant has started. Imagine the COVID variant that is there in the market today. It will create just the same impact the first wave created. Imagine, let's that not happen, but imagine, okay, if this COVID wave, it had our COVID variant, and the new variant creates the same havoc, creates the same problem that the first COVID wave created, then there is a possibility that the finances of the government again will become very weak. So can I say that is an extreme situation? So under extreme situations, right, the government of India is allowed to borrow from RBI. That power is given. That option is there under FRBM Act. But generally, right, during a normal course of time, during normal years, government of India will not borrow from RBI under this model. Right. So that is the concept of budget deficit. Now that is the reason we do not follow this model. We have discontinued because it will add to the inflationary trend. Now, next point, understand the next point as well. The RBI budget deficit is total expenditure minus total receipts. That is budget deficit. Now, there is one more deficit, monetized deficit. What do you mean by monetized deficit? RBI lending to the government of India to bridge budget deficit is called as monetized deficit. Is it okay? I'm talking about the sixth one now. I'm talking about the sixth one. RBI lending to government of India. RBI giving loans to government of India to bridge the budget deficit is called as monetization of the deficit. That is, in simple terms, I'm talking about direct monetization. I'm simply talking about direct monetization where RBI will directly give loans to, right, government of India. So budget deficit, total expenditure minus total receipts, that is called as budget deficit. And second one is monetized deficit. Whatever is a budget deficit, RBI would provide loan to government of India, would provide a loan to government of India to bridge budget deficit, which is called as monetized deficit. Done. So 5 and 6, both of them we do not follow now. Why? After this, we'll look at one agreement, one law, FRBM, fiscal responsibility and budget management. There you will understand. And as of now, it should be very clear to you. Direct borrowings from RBI, not good. That is the reason we have discontinued. Okay, done. So this is basically the 6 types of deficits. Again, I'm reminding you, out of all the 6 types, first 4 are important. Those are the ones which are calculated. If you want the proof, please have a look at the graph. You will understand it. Now, next year, whenever you come across economic survey documents or budget documents, what should you remember? Please understand, there are multiple graphs, multiple graphical representations which are given to you. Should you remember all the graphs? Are the graphs important? Are they needed for UPSC exam? They are important as far as the trend-based questions are concerned. They're important as far as trend-based questions are concerned. What do you mean by trend-based questions? Now, please look at the graph. Can I give you a trend-based question? That is, in the last decade, the fiscal deficit of government of India has consistently increased. Please look at the graph and do let me know. In the last decade, the fiscal deficit of government of India has consistently increased. Is the statement correct or wrong? Statement is wrong. Some of you are saying yes, statement is wrong. Why? My dear, please look at the trend. Please look at the trend. Can I say, until and unless we hit the COVID pandemic situation, the fiscal deficit was gradually reducing. Fiscal deficit was gradually reducing. But once we hit the COVID wave, right, automatically, because of the financial pressures, the fiscal deficit skyrocketed. It increased abruptly from 3.4% in financial year 19. It hit high of 9.2% in financial year 21. Now again, we are trying to reduce it. And today's newspaper, Hindu newspaper, many of you are asking, sir, any articles from today, today Hindu newspaper, any articles are important? These are the important articles which I think are needed for UPSC exam. One is in the central page. In the central page, there is an article on shipping. Not very important, but something important is there. Very small information. Don't read what is merchant shipping, right? Why should we enter into merchant shipping, etc., etc. None of that is important. Only a small information, right? What is the comparison between India and China in terms of developing shipping lines, right? Being Atmanirbhar in terms of development of a shipping industry, etc. Second one, there is a very nice article, not completely, not all the information is relevant to you. Red Sea, very big article, right? But very nice article. Red Sea, Houthi attacks in Red Sea, right? Is there any impact of that? In fact, related to the same, right? That is a Red Sea issue. In the business page also, there is one small article, bottom part, left side, bottom part. The Minister for Trade and Commerce has given a statement where the minister says there has not been much impact as of now, but one of the impact that minister says is said to be on food grain exports, right? So again, related to Red Sea only. Both these articles are related to Red Sea only. Apart from that, right, there is one article on RBI, right? If you want to read it. But again, do not read the complete details. Do not by heart the numbers. Numbers will keep on changing. Fourth article, fiscal deficit. There is an article on fiscal deficit, business page, very small article. Government of India has clarified that will be able to meet the fiscal deficit target this year, because day for yesterday there was an article that they might end up crossing the fiscal deficit target of 5.9%. Okay, so these are the articles that I believe are important in today's newspaper. Please read them. Okay, come back to the discussion. So trend based questions can be asked. Please be very, very careful. Do not by heart the data. Data is not important. Trend based questions can be asked. Now, have a look at this particular picture also, right? Now, what is the importance of this picture? Whenever government will announce a budget, obviously they will tell you how much money they are going to collect in the form of income, receipts, and how much money they are going to spend where. Generally, if UPSC will ask you a question, they might ask you a question based on these numbers only. For example, again, I'm not saying it is a guaranteed question. If UPSC wants to ask you next year based on the budget data, can they ask you a question like this? They will give you 2 to 3, or let's say 3 to 4 3 to 4 expenses or 3 to 4 income sources. Can they ask you to arrange them in ascending or descending order as per the budget estimates of 24 and 25? Please think of it. Possible or not? I'm not saying guaranteed question. Possible or not? They will give you income sources, corporate taxes, GST, income taxes, excise, and they will ask you to arrange them in ascending order or descending order of their receipt contribution as per the budget estimates of 24 and 25. Very much possible. Please be very careful. So that's the reason I'm saying next year when the budget is announced, look at this data. Okay. Now, what are the sources of the government? What are the sources for income for the government? Look at the left side, 1 rupee left side. You will be realizing that the most important source of income for the government is taxes. The most important source of income for the government is taxation. In fact, if you see borrowings and liabilities, borrowings today are income, so 34 paisa, non-debt capital receipts are 2 paisa, and non-tax revenue 6 paisa. So 34 plus 6, 40, 40 plus 2, 42. So remaining 58%. Remaining 58% source of income for the government is the taxation only. So that is the reason I again and again I keep on telling you taxes are very, very important for the government. So 58% of the current financial year income source is taxes for the government. Come to the right side now. Come to the right side, right? So right side basically represents in what way they are being spent, right? Under what circumstances, under what programs, under what heads the money is being spent. You will realize that a lot of money is being spent on subsidies. Have a look at this. A lot of money is being spent on subsidies. Apart from subsidies, the central government schemes, there are 2 types of schemes: central sector, central government. Central sector, central government. And central sector, centrally sponsored. What is the basic idea of a centrally sponsored and a central sector? Understand this carefully. Central sector schemes are those schemes where 100% of funding for the scheme will be provided by the government. Is it okay? Right, I'll repeat it. Central sector means 100% of the funding is provided by the government only. Which government? Union government. And centrally sponsored means part of the expenses will be given by the center and remaining will be given by the state governments. For example, many schemes are there in India where the division of expenditure, allocation expenditure is 50 is to 50, 60 is to 40, 75 is to 25, 90 is to 10. That is, in simple terms, if the scheme has 60 is to 40 expenditure distribution, it simply means 60% of the funding will come from the union government, remaining 40% will come from the state government. Remaining 40% will come from the state government. So centrally sponsored, central sector. And for the current financial year, if you look at it, centrally sponsored and central sector, both of them put together account for 26% or 26 paisas. And apart from this, have a look at the interest payment. Interesting, by the way. Have a look at the interest payment. Right? Interest payments out of 100 rupee or 1 rupee, 20% is interest payment. That's very, very high. 20 paisa or 20% of our expenses are interest payments. That's very high number. We are in the process of reducing this. We want to reduce it for a very simple reason. Out of total expenses, if you reserve one fifth, and understand my statement now, can I say interest payments, pensions, etc. are committed expenditures? I'll repeat the statement. Interest expenses, pensions of the government, salaries paid by the government, etc. Can I call this as committed expenses? Committed means there is no option for you. There is absolutely no option. You will have to spend so much amount of money. If your committed expenses are very high, it will put a lot of pressure on your non-committal expenditures. Right? If you want to launch a scheme, money may not be there. I hope you understand. You want to provide for, right, let's say infrastructure. Money is not available. Why? Your committed expenses are very, very high. So we are in the process of bringing them down, reduce them. Okay. So central sector, centrally sponsored, interest payments 20%. That's very, very high. You'll understand after some time what is this? A state's share of taxes and duties, as well as finance commission and other grants. You'll understand it. Don't worry. So this is basically given every year as a representation of from where government is collecting money and where government is spending money. Next year, when the budget is announced, have a thorough look at it. Have a thorough look at the expenditure as well as the income sources. Now, have a look at this. Have a look at the table. Do not by heart anything. Please do not by heart anything. Just have a look at it. Revenue receipts, capital receipts, total expenditure, revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit, FD as well as PD. We have discussed all of this. I hope you understand. We have discussed all of it, right? Is there anybody in the classroom who says, sir, you have not discussed one of the components that is mentioned in the table? Please do let me know. We have discussed all of these, right? But please understand, do not by heart numbers. Don't say, sir, you have not discussed numbers. You don't require numbers. You don't have to by heart numbers. Now, there are three terminologies in the top of the table. Have a look at it. There are three terminologies. One is called as actuals. Second one is called as a budget estimate. Third one is called as revised estimates. I'll repeat the statement. One is actual. Second one is budget. Third one is revised estimate. Now, what do you mean by actual? Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say, time is 6:23. You are the finance minister now. Congratulations, you are the finance minister. So let's say on the 1st of February, 2024, after 2 months, okay, I'm sorry, after around 1 month. So on the 1st of February 2024, you will announce budget. You will announce the budget for which year? You will announce the budget for the financial year 1st April 2024 to 31st March 25. All of you okay with this? Point number one. You will announce a budget for the next financial year. You are in the financial year 24 now. You are in the financial year 24. You will announce a budget for financial year 25. Right? I will call this as budget estimates. Anybody has a problem? I'll call these as budget estimates because these are estimates. You cannot give a guaranteed outcome. These are estimates, budget estimates. Now, please tell me, can you make any changes to the financials of fiscal year 23 on the 1st of February 2024? Is it possible? I'll repeat the statement. Can you make any changes regarding how much money you have earned, how much money you have spent in the financial year 23 on the 1st February 2024? It's not possible. Why? You have already crossed the year. You have already completed the year. You cannot change anything in that particular year. So for this year, the previous year, I hope you understand now, the previous year, the preceding year, I will call this as actuals. I will call the data for the preceding year as actuals. But look at the current financial year. You are in the financial year 24, right? So you have already announced a budget for the financial year 24. So don't you think whatever you have announced as estimates for financial year 24, now certain changes will be made? Is it okay? For this financial year 24, budget is already announced. It was announced on the 1st of February 2023. So for that particular budget estimates, whatever you've announced for this financial year, current financial year, you'll have to make certain changes. You thought subsidies, you would be spending so much. But as of now, on the 1st of February 2024, you have realized, no, that's not possible. You'll have to change it. That is called as revised estimates. That is called as revised estimates. Now, let me put in a statement. Anybody has a problem? Let me know. Whenever you announce a budget for the next financial year, you will announce. So for the next financial year, you will call it as a budget estimate. For the previous financial year, which is already over, no, nothing is possible to be changed now. You will call the data actuals. And for the current financial year, you will make certain changes. You will call this as revised estimates. Right, that is exactly what you'll see in the table. Budget estimates, right? Revised estimates for the same financial year, and budget estimates for the next financial year, actuals for the previous financial year. Okay, right? So these are the three sets of financial data that you'll generally come across in the table. Please have a look at it. Now, next concept, debt profile of the government. Debt profile of the government. Now, please understand this very carefully. I hope you people are reading. Couple of days ago, there was one paper that was published, one finding that was published by IMF regarding public debt of Government of India, regarding general debt of India. That is the reason the concept of debt becomes very, very important. Now, point number one, what do you mean by debt? What do you mean by debt? Debt simply means liability. Debt simply means liability, right? In other words, debt simply means something that you will have to repay. The money that you will have to repay, that is nothing but liability. Now, whenever you talk about debt, generally you will come across two data. One is called as general debt. One is called as a general debt. General simply means central government debt plus state government's debt. Center plus state, it is called as general debt. And the second one is called as public debt. And in case of India, whenever you talk about public debt, it generally represents the debt of the central government. The debt of the central government. Now come to the point. Whenever you talk about debt of the central government, how do we calculate it? How do we simply calculate the debt of the central government? Point number one, straightforward. Please do let me know. Can I say this year's fiscal deficit will be part of public debt of Government of India? Please do let me know. Right? This year's fiscal deficit will be should be part of debt of Government of India. Because if you borrowed, fiscal deficit is nothing but borrowings. So whenever you say borrowings, automatically it is a liability. You will have to repay it. So fiscal deficit is generally counted. So don't ask, sir, where is the fiscal deficit? You have not written fiscal deficit, etc. But whenever you talk about liability of the government, Whenever you talk about liabilities of the government, it is not just borrowings of the government in the form of fiscal deficit. Understand this point carefully. Whenever you talk about liability of the government, it is not just fiscal deficit that represents a liability of the government. It is more than that. It is more than that. Why? Understand these discussions, slightly technical. Fiscal deficit meaning what? What does fiscal deficit mean? Can I say fiscal deficit represents how much money the government borrows in this year? How much is the borrowing of the government in this year? So this year, let's say hypothetically, government of India will borrow 200 crore rupee. This year they will borrow 200 crore. And let's say they will repay it by issuing 10-year government bonds. They will repay it after 10 years. But now tell me, very simple question to you. Now tell me, is this the only money that the government needs to pay? Right? What about, let's say, government borrowing 300 crore rupees by issuing 10-year government bonds in financial year 2022? Think of it. In this current financial year, the current financial year is financial year 24. There in the financial year 24, government has issued 10-year government bonds of 200 crore rupees. They have borrowed 200 crore. That is obviously become liability. What about 10-year government bonds worth 300 crore, which has been issued by the government in financial year 22, which they will repay after 10 years? So don't you think this should also be counted as a part of liability of government of India? All of you okay? This should also be counted as a part of liability of government of India. So now let me know. Fiscal deficit, right? If I say fiscal deficit is equal to the public debt, is the statement correct? Think of it. Fiscal deficit of government of India this year is equal to public debt. Is the statement correct? Are Baba, this year, you are not listening to me very carefully. This year, fiscal deficit of this year is equal to public debt. Is the statement correct? Statement will be wrong. Why? Some of you are saying yes even now. After discussing all of this, you are saying no, yeah, correct. Why? It's wrong. Why? Fiscal deficit of this year is 200 crore. Can I say public debt of government of India is 200 crore? Will that be correct? Will that statement be correct? No. Why? In this example itself, now you know overall today, right now, if you calculate government of India's liability here in this example is 200 plus 300, 500 crore rupee. All of you okay with this? Today, if you ask government of India how much money you owe, how much money you will have to repay, can government of India say only 200 crore rupee? Think of it. Today, if you go to the government and ask, looking at this example, if you ask government of India, sir, please tell me how much money you will have to repay. Can government of India say only 200 crore? 200 crore is what government has borrowed this year. It has to repay. But what about last year borrowing? Which they are yet to repay. What about borrowings of financial year 22, which they are yet to repay? What about fiscal deficit, that is borrowings in, let's say 20, which they are yet to repay? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine in financial year 20, right? Imagine government of India has issued a 40-year bond. Imagine in financial year 20, government has issued a 40-year bond, which means all of you will agree the repayment on the bond, that is a principal payment, will be given back to the investor in financial year 60. Yes or no? Think of it. Government has issued a 40-year bond in the financial year 20, which means the principal, I'm talking about principal by the way, the principal amount of 100 rupee will be given back to the bondholder in the financial year 60, which means today if I calculate public debt, if I calculate what is the liability of government of India, I should be counting the principal value of this 40-year bond, because that is a liability. I might have borrowed in financial year 20, but I still owe it. I still have to repay it. right? So I hope you understand fiscal deficit represents borrowings in 1 year. But what about borrowings in last year? If you have not repaid, it is still a liability. What about borrowings in, right, let's say 3 financial years ago? If you are still repaying it or yet to repay it, it is a part of liability. So I hope this is clear to you. Now, next point. The liability of Government of India can be internal in nature, external in nature. Liability of Government of India can be internal or external. And please remember this. I'll show you the data to prove it. Majority of this debt that the Government of India has is internal in nature, and that is an advantage. Why? Because you are borrowing from the domestic sources, you can easily repay in terms of rupees. You can easily repay, right? No doubt, yes, it might add certain problem, it might add to inflationary trend, etc. No doubt, yes, I do understand, but it is internal in nature. You can easily borrow in rupees and repay in rupees, compared to borrowing in dollar and repaying in dollar. Because understand this carefully, the value of a dollar in terms of rupees, will keep on changing. Value of dollar in terms of rupees will keep on changing. In simple terms, today $1 can be, let's say, 50 rupees, and when you're about to repay, $1 can be equal to 60 rupees. So please look at the number and say, if the exchange rate is like this, can I say it will have a huge impact on borrowings and repayment? It will have a huge impact on borrowings as well as repayment. Today you might borrow $1, which is equal to 50. But after 5 years, when you're supposed to repay, you need to convert rupees into dollar. Now you'll have to pay 60 rupees. That becomes a problem. So whenever government borrows majorly from the domestic sources, Government of India says this represents a certain stability for me. My exchange rate risk, my debt has a very low exchange rate risk. Remember that term. Please remember that term. And if you're reading newspapers, against the findings of IMF, Government of India has exactly said the same thing. If I'm wrong, let me know. Against the findings of IMF, right? Very recently, IMF said your debt will cross more than 100% by 27 and 28. There is a danger that your debt will cross more than 100% by 27 and 28. Government of India said, no, that is extreme situation, extreme case. It's not guaranteed, it's an extreme case. And moreover, most of my debt is internal in nature. So it doesn't have a huge amount of risk. Okay, that is point number one. Now come to the next point here. There are two terms that you need to understand. One is public account, second one is extra budgetary resources. One is a public account, second one is extra budgetary resources. Look at the term extra budgetary resources. Now, what is this concept of extra budgetary resources? Let me explain this. Listen carefully. Please listen to me very carefully. Example 1. Government of India will borrow money. Government of India will borrow money from the market, and spend it on infrastructure. This is straightforward, nothing but fiscal deficit. This represents nothing but fiscal deficit. Example 2. This is very, very interesting. Listen carefully. Government of India, let's say same infrastructure project or same scheme, Government of India will allocate, right? I'll write the numbers so that you understand. Government of India, out of 500 crore rupee for the project, Government of India in the budget will allocate, let's say 300 crore rupees. Government will allocate 300 crore rupees, and remaining 200 crore rupees. Authority owned by Government of India, authority established by Government of India will borrow from the market, and spend it on infrastructure. Now, please tell me, how many of you think both example 1 and example 2 are one and the same? Let me know. How many of you think that both example 1 and example 2 are exactly one and the same? Absolutely no difference. Answer is you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. Why? My dear, in the first example, Government of India is directly borrowing 500 crore rupees. At least look at it now. In the example 1, Government of India is directly borrowing all the 500 crore rupees. And in the second example, government borrows 300 crore and spends, and the authority means, let's say, Food Corporation of India. It's an authority owned by Government of India. National Highways Authority of India. It is authority owned by Government of India. So in the second case, Government of India borrows 300 crore, spends 300 crore, but the authority owned by Government of India will borrow. I repeat, authority owned by Government of India will borrow 200 crore, spend 200 crore. Which means if you calculate fiscal deficit in example 1, fiscal deficit for government in example 1 will be 500 crore rupee. Whereas in the second example, fiscal deficit for the government will become 300 crore rupee. All of you okay? In the second example, because government is not directly borrowing all the 500, Government of India is borrowing only 300. Direct borrowing. That's very, very important. Now, what is the concept here? What is this concept? This is called as extra budgetary resources. Extra budgetary, right? I hope you understand the term extra budgetary. What do you mean by extra budgetary? Anything that is used, resources means money here. The money that is used but out of the budget. We are not using all the money from the budget money only. That is how much from the consolidated fund of India. All the money does not come from consolidated fund of India. Some of it will come from outside the consolidated fund of India. That is a concept of extra budgetary resources. Right? Let's say National Highways Authority of India has earned a certain amount of money. They will spend on the infrastructure. National Highways Authority of India will borrow money and spend on infrastructure along with the Government of India. All of these are nothing but extra budgetary resources. But the specific one that I've written here, the one example that I've written here, that is basically example 2, this is off budget borrowing. This practice is called as off budget borrowing. All of you okay with the terminology? Let me know. Off budget borrowing. Off budget. Off budget borrowing means what? The borrowing is done. The borrowing will happen in the market, but not directly by the government. Government is not borrowing this 200 crore rupee. Because let me know. Is it okay if I say, if Government of India is borrowing this 200 crore rupee, does it not mean it will be part of the budgetary documents? Is it not done through the exercise of budget passage in the parliament? Right? Every document has to be presented, discussed, then the government will be allowed to borrow from the market. So now understand the simplicity of this system. If government wants to borrow, they will have to introduce document, take permission and borrow as a part of budgetary exercise. But now tell me, for this 200 crore rupee, look at the number carefully. For this 200 crore rupee, I'll say government doesn't require any permission in the parliament. This 200 crore rupee, government doesn't require any permission. Why? It is not part of the borrowings of Government of India. It is not part of borrowings of Government of India. Whereas government borrowing 300 crore and spending 300 crore, that will be part of a budgetary process. That will be part of fiscal deficit. Can I go forward now? Can I go forward? Now, next important point. Many of you will ask me, sir, why? Why is the authority borrowing? Why can't the government directly borrow from the market? Please tell me, can I say, this will be one of the methods that can be used by the government to contain fiscal deficit? Let me know, I'll repeat it. This can be one of the methods followed by the government to contain fiscal deficit. Yes or no? Arey Baba, some of you are saying no. Why? Right? Why? Can I say, compared to example 1, in example 2, fiscal deficit has come down by 200 crore rupee. What is the difficulty here? What is the difficulty? If government will borrow, that becomes fiscal deficit. Listen to me carefully. If government borrows, that is fiscal deficit. In the second example, again listen carefully. Some of you are not listening. Some of you, I don't know what is the problem. Some of you are not listening at all. If government borrows directly, it is fiscal deficit. If any authority of government of India borrows, it doesn't mean government is borrowing directly. It simply means authority is borrowing. For example, let me know now. State Bank of India will borrow from market by issuing bonds. Does it mean government of India is borrowing? Now tell me answer. Tell me the answer. Because State Bank of India is majorly owned by government of India. State Bank of India borrows from the market by issuing additional tier 1 bond. Does it mean government of India is borrowing? Why not? Why not? If I take your own argument, your argument is, but sir, NHI is owned by government of India. I'll take your own argument. Why not then? Right? That's the whole idea. SBI has borrowed. It's a liability of SBI. Government has borrowed directly. It is a liability of government of India. But in this example, second example, is government of India directly borrowing 200 crore? No. It is borrowing only 300 crore. So fiscal deficit of government of India will remain 300. Now next point. Although the 200 crore is borrowed by an agency, by an authority of government of India, it will be repaid. It will be repaid by government of India only. It will be repaid along with interest. It will be repaid by government of India. Now you will ask me, why sir? Why should government of India repay? My dear, please tell me, who has proposed this project? Participate now. Who has proposed this project? Central government has proposed the project. Who is supposed to spend money on the project? Center is supposed to spend the money on the project. But because center doesn't want to spend so much amount of money, they have basically asked the authority to borrow money. Right? They have asked the authority to borrow money because they don't want to spend all the 500 crore. Now, because of that, it will be the government of India which has to repay the interest as well as the principal amount borrowed by this authority. It has to be paid by the central government. Now, please tell me, can I now say this 200 crore rupee is a liability of government of India? Let me know. Now, can I simply say that 200 crore rupee is the liability of government of India? So now have a look at this. Point C. Please have a look at point C. Extra budgetary resources. Some of you keep on arguing no matter what I say. My dear, please think logically. Let me know the answer to this question now. Do you think extra budgetary resources are counted as a part of fiscal deficit? Those are arguing, oh, everything is one and the same, doesn't make any difference, etc., etc. Let me know the answer now. Do you think extra budgetary resources are counted as a part of fiscal deficit? Answer is no. Extra budgetary resources are not counted as a part of fiscal deficit. Now, second question. Extra budgetary resources are counted as part of liabilities of the government. Extra budgetary resources are counted as liabilities of the government. Answer is yes. They are part of liabilities. They are not counted as a part of fiscal deficit. Okay, so extra budgetary resources. Come to the third one here, public account. If you remember, yesterday I told you, under the Constitution of India, Article 266, Article 267, again related to polity. Right? Don't keep on asking me differentiate between this, that, this, public account, contingent, etc. Polity classes, I'm pretty sure it is already over for you. Now, under Article 266 and 267, different accounts are there. One such account is public account. Right? In public account, please understand this. Money is deposited, money is withdrawn. There is no need for parliamentary approval. I'll repeat it. In the public account, money is deposited, money is withdrawn. Government does not require any parliamentary approval. Now, what kind of money is deposited? What kind of money is withdrawn? Please let me know. Have you heard of Kisan Vikas Patra? KVP, Small Saving Schemes. Kisan Vikas Patra. Have you heard of Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana? Have you heard of the PPF, Public Provident Fund? Now, in all these cases, these are collectively called as small saving schemes. I repeat, these are collectively called as small saving schemes. Kisan Vikas Patra, Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana, Public Provident Fund, all these are called as small saving schemes. All these are announced by the central government. All these are announced by the central government. And please remember this, any money that is collected under all of these, any money that is collected under all of these is deposited into the public account. It is deposited into public account, and who will guarantee the payment? Who will guarantee the repayment of all of these investments? The union government. The central government will carry the payment or the repayment of all of these schemes. Is everyone okay with this? I'll repeat it again. Listen carefully. Please listen carefully. Any small saving schemes which are announced by the union government, the money is collected and given under the public account. And who will guarantee the repayment of all of these monies, these investments? The repayment guarantee is given by the union government. So now, can I simply say, because the union government guarantees the repayment, whatever money is collected in the public account becomes a liability of Government of India? Let me know. Whatever money is collected under the public account, the repayment is guaranteed by Government of India. So can I call this also as a liability of Government of India? Answer is yes. Right? So what are the total liabilities of Government of India now then? What are the total liabilities? One, the public debt of Government of India is part of liability. And second one is extra budgetary resources is part of liability. And third one is public account is also part of its liabilities. Right? The sum total of all the three will give you total liabilities of Government of India. So please be very careful. Please be very careful. UPSC can trick you into writing answers wrongly in the prelims. So I hope you understand. Fiscal deficit is not the total liability of Government of India. Right? Fiscal deficit is not the total liability of Government of India. Absolutely no. Right? Fiscal deficit is part of liabilities of Government of India. Right? So that is the argument. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Next concept is FRBM. Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management. Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. FRBM Act of 2003. Now, what is this FRBM Act of 2003? Point number one, we will have to reduce the fiscal deficit as well as revenue deficit. We will have to reduce the fiscal deficit as well as revenue deficit. We will reduce the fiscal deficit to 3% of GDP by 2008-2009, and will reduce the revenue deficit to 0% of GDP by 2008 and 2009. Now, please tell me, does it make sense to have a fiscal deficit and no revenue deficit? Let me see how many of you are remembering yesterday's discussion. I'll repeat it. Does it make sense to have a fiscal deficit but no revenue deficit? Anybody has a difficulty in understanding this logic behind it? Sir, why they're keeping FD but RD they don't want? It simply means, again, some of you do not listen carefully, some of you do not revise it. It becomes problem later. It will become a problem to you. The argument is, if you reduce the RD to 0 and have a FD, it simply means if you are borrowing, none of it you're using for revenue expenses. Is it okay? Whatever you are borrowing, you are using it for creation of assets. I'll repeat the statement. If FD is 3% and RD is equal to 0%, it simply means you are borrowing from the market. But none of it you are using for your consumption purposes. All of it you are using for asset creation purposes. That's the reason we have a target of FD as well as RD. The deficits are allowed to exceed targets only under certain circumstances. Imagine Government of India has kept a FD target of 5.3%. Imagine only under certain circumstances the target can be exceeded. What kind of circumstances? What if India experiences recession? What if the agriculture sector is destroyed because of, let's say, very high amount of floods? What if certain reforms have been implemented because of external or let's say the internal situation, as a result of which there is a huge disturbance in the economy? So only under certain circumstances can you exceed your fiscal deficit target. Next, Reserve Bank of India must not subscribe to the primary issues of G security. All of you okay with this last point? Reserve Bank of India must not subscribe to the primary issues of G security. Anybody has a problem? In simple terms, I'm talking about direct monetization. Do you remember this? Many of you will say, sir, you are not explaining blah, 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 etc., etc. Please tell me, direct monetization, indirect monetization. Did we discuss this earlier? And those who are asking, where have you discussed it? Banking sector. Banking sector, open banking chapter, you will realize in one of the first classes, or I believe second class, we have discussed the idea for direct as well as indirect monetization. So can I say, if RBI will directly purchase the G securities from RBI, that is, RBI will purchase from Government of India, that is primary issuance of G securities. And primary issuance of G securities is nothing but direct monetization. Direct monetization will lead to inflationary trend in the economy. That is the reason RBI should not subscribe to the G securities in the primary market. Okay, so these are certain very important provisions under FRBM, Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. Now, apart from this, the government is also supposed to come out with three very important documents. Every year, government is supposed to come out with three very important documents. Now, what is this three documents? First one is called as Macroeconomic Framework Statement. Macroeconomic Framework Statement. Second one is called as a Fiscal Policy Strategy Statement. And the third one is called as Medium Term Policy or Fiscal Policy Statement. Let me start with the third one only. What is the meaning of medium term fiscal policy statement? Under this, Government of India will set targets for 3 years. I'll repeat the statement here. Under this, Government of India will set targets for next 3 financial years. What kind of targets? Will set targets for revenue deficit, will set targets for primary deficit, will set targets for fiscal deficit, etc. So next year, when the government is going to announce a budget, government is going to announce targets for these parameters for the next 3 financial years. And why it is called as a rolling target? Why is this referred as a rolling target? Now I'll give a very simple example. You please do let me know. Imagine for the next 3 financial years, Government of India wants to reduce fiscal deficit from 5.9% to 5.4% to 5.2%. Hypothetically, let's say for the next 3 financial years, government wants to reduce the FD to 5.9 and after that to 5.4 and after that to 5.2. Now, can I say based on various internal, external factors, etc., if there is any outcome in the economy, there will be change in some of these targets? Let me know. Please think of it and do let me know. I am saying in financial year 25, I will achieve this much. Financial year 26, I'll achieve this much. And financial year 27, I will achieve a target of 5.2%. Don't you think because of various factors, because of various outcomes, maybe in the next 3 months, maybe in the next 6 months, maybe in the next 1 year, there will be changes, right, in these parameters. There should be changes in these parameters. That flexibility should be there. That is the reason this is called as a rolling target. Rolling means continuously changing. Rolling means continuously changing, right? These are called as a 3-year rolling targets. So under the medium term fiscal policy statement, 3-year rolling targets is given in every budget. Second one is macroeconomic framework statement. Government will give you information. Under this statement, government will give you information regarding how industries are performing, how agriculture sector is performing, how exports are performing, what is expected from industries in the next 1 year, what could be GDP growth rate. I repeat, what could be. Nobody can tell you exactly the number, exact percentage of what will happen, but they might estimate. They will give you estimate. So industrial activity, agriculture sector, export sector, banking sector, GDP growth rate. So all these will be looked into and information will be provided in the macroeconomic framework statement. And finally, the fiscal policy strategy statement. In the fiscal policy strategy statement, Government of India will provide you information regarding what is the focus area of Government of India in the next one financial year. That is in the budget which is applicable for the next financial year. What is the focus area for the government? Is taxes the focus area? Is agriculture sector the focus area? Right? Is debt to GDP, is it a focus area? What is the focus area in the next 1 year? That is in the budget that will be given in the fiscal policy strategy statement. So these three statements are generally published by the government whenever the budgets are announced. Okay. Now these are part of FRBM. Under FRBM, they are supposed to announce all of it. Now please understand this. Government of India many years ago, somewhere around 2016 and 2017, looked at FRBM Act. FRBM Act was announced in 2003. We are in 2016 and 2017. So Government of India said, it's been more than 10 years since we have implemented FRBM. We need to make certain changes. We need to amend the FRBM. We need to make changes to the FRBM. And that is a precise reason government set up NK Singh committee. Government of India set up NK Singh committee. Now I am writing NK Singh committee. In the books or in the exams, they will also write this as FRBM review committee. They will write this as FRBM review committee, fiscal responsibility budget management review committee. What are the recommendations of the FRBM review committee? Although the time period was they recommended by 2023 we should be doing all of this, right? Because of pandemic, because of right, let's say the slowdown that we have experienced, etc. We have not been able to achieve the target. But nevertheless, what are the recommendations? First one, the committee recommended, the FRBM review committee recommended that we are generally targeting fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. We generally target fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. We want to reduce them. Agreed. But this committee recommended that apart from the fiscal deficit and the revenue deficit, we should also target the public debt. Right? Public debt of the central government and the debt of the state governments. I'll repeat it again. Apart from reducing fiscal deficit and revenue deficit, we should also reduce the debt of central government as well as the debt of the states. To how much? The committee recommended that by 2023, it's not happened, right? I hope you understand. We are right. We are in the next financial year now. So by 2023, we should be able to reduce the debt of the central government to 40%, around 40% of its GDP, and that of the state governments should be reduced to 20% of GDP. Although I'm saying 20%, if you look at the recommendation, the path that was given by the FRBM review committee, they recommended that we should reduce the central government debt to 38.7% by financial year 23. We should reduce the revenue deficit to 0.8 percentage of GDP by FY23. And the fiscal deficit should be reduced to 2.5 percentage of GDP by financial year 23. Now, please tell me, those who are reading newspapers, etc., or watching news, watching that, reading this, please tell me, are we anywhere near to these targets which have been given by FRBM review committee? Let me see. Are we anywhere near to these targets? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. The target that was given for fiscal deficit was 2.5%. 2.5%. Government of India has a target of how much? 5.9% for the current financial year. Not even financial year 23, financial year 24 I'm talking about. 5.9%. Right? So again, I'm not saying government of India is at fault because of this, etc. No, because of pandemic. Because of the pandemic, we had to forego all these targets because of the pandemic, right? And debt, the central government debt and the state government debt put together, the recommendation was 60% by financial year 23. What is the debt today? More than 80% in India, right? The debt for India is more than 80%. So I hope you understand, because of certain external as well as internal outcomes, or let's say disturbances, we have not been able to bring it under control. It has actually expanded in the last couple of years. Okay, right? So first one, reduce the FD, reduce RD, and reduce the debt as well. To achieve the targets, to achieve these targets, right, annual targets will be given for the central government, and they should be able to achieve these annual targets. Third one, the committee also recommended a new autonomous authority. Autonomous means independent. The committee recommended a new autonomous authority, that is Autonomous Fiscal Council. In the Autonomous Fiscal Council, the central government would appoint certain experts, and these right experts, which will form a group now, council, will keep on giving recommendation to government. What kind of recommendation? Are the policies of government of India, are they going to help government of India in reducing the deficit, or these policies are faulty and they will increase the deficit? That recommendation will be given. Any strategy that can be implemented by the government to meet the targets. Is the government on the path to meet the targets, or it is going to cross these particular targets in the financial year? These kind of recommendations would be given by the Autonomous Fiscal Council to the union government. Do we have an Autonomous Fiscal Council in India? Absolutely no. Government of India so far has not set up Autonomous Fiscal Council. Okay, right? So preparing multi-year forecast, recommending changes to the strategy, improving the quality of data, how data collection is done, how it is calculated, right? Is there any slippage, etc.? Advise the government if there are any conditions so that flexibility can be taken, fiscal deficit can be higher. Advise the government, right? Advise the government to take corrective actions as well. Okay, right? So apart from this, under what circumstances the government will be allowed to exceed the fiscal deficit target? For example, for current financial year, I repeat, for current financial year, can I say fiscal deficit target is 5.9%? You have seen this in the slide. If you're reading newspapers, you know it. According to the current financial year budget, the fiscal deficit target is 5.9%. Now, under what circumstances will the government of India be allowed to have higher fiscal deficit? Rather than 5.9%, let's say 6.4%. In what circumstance it will be allowed to expand the fiscal deficit? And please do let me know, all of you, okay, if I say relaxation in the fiscal deficit, expansion of the fiscal deficit, does it simply mean that government will be allowed to borrow more? Correct or no? I'll repeat the statement. If I say extension of the fiscal deficit is allowed or relaxation in the fiscal deficit is allowed, does it not mean that government will have more flexibility to borrow from the market? That's a basic idea. Under what circumstances it is allowed then? First one, right? If government of India is having a war, right, there is a consideration of national security. If there is a drought like situation and agriculture sector is under lot of pressure, right, destruction in agriculture sector, there is recession in the Indian economy, certain reforms have been implemented and that has led to reduced incomes for the government of India, etc. So there are various situations under which relaxation of fiscal deficit is allowed for the government. Okay. Now committee also has recommended that 15th Finance Commission should be asked to provide a debt trajectory for the states. 15th Finance Commission should be asked to give debt trajectory for the states. What do you mean by debt trajectory? Please look at this graph. Please look at this particular graph. Can I say this graph? Graph means a representation here. Can I say this is nothing but a debt trajectory? Trajectory means a pathway. Trajectory simply means a pathway. By what percentage, by what numbers we are increasing the debt every year. That is nothing but a trajectory, a pathway. So 15th Finance Commission should be asked to give a recommendation of debt trajectory for the states. Because the encasing committee recommended it for the center, we should also have the same thing for the states. These are certain very important recommendations given by encasing review committee. Please go through the picture. Do not by heart everything. Please do not by heart everything, because the fact of the matter is very simple. We have not been able to achieve these targets thanks to pandemic. Thanks to pandemic, we have not been able to achieve any of these targets. Okay. Any doubts? Can we go forward? Anybody has a doubt? Sir, couldn't understand why off-budget borrowing is paid by government even though they are not borrowing. Government of India has launched a scheme. Listen carefully now. Government of India has launched a scheme, and for the scheme, they should spend 500 crore. But if the government borrows all the 500 crore, then government's fiscal deficit will be higher. Government's fiscal deficit might cross 5.9%. You want that to happen? Government says, no, I don't want to cross 5.9%. So what I'll do? I will borrow money out of 500 crore. I will not borrow full 500. I will borrow only 300. I'm taking the same numbers that I've used in the example. Government says, I will borrow 300. And because I borrow 300, my fiscal deficit will remain at 5.9%. I'm not crossing that. I'm not increasing my FD. But what about the remaining 200? You should have 500. What about the remaining 200? So there is one authority, right? There is one authority. This authority, Government of India will tell this authority to borrow from the market, spend 200 crore. So in essence, listen now, in essence, government has borrowed only 300. But this authority has been asked by the government to borrow 300. Borrow 200 crore rupee. So what government says? Borrow it maybe after 2 years, maybe after 3 years, right? Whatever is the duration of the borrowing, after the duration is over, I will repay it. I will simply repay it. That is how government finances are done. That is how government finances are adjusted. What is the importance? What is the beauty of this? Please do let me know. If you are in the financial year 20 and 21, if you borrow all the 500 crore rupee, don't you think your fiscal deficit will be much, much bigger? Think of it and please do let me know. Right? If you're in the financial year 20 and 21, and if you borrow all the 500 crore rupee, does it not mean your fiscal deficit will be much, much larger than what it is actually? But by borrowing, by limiting your borrowing to 300, are you not limiting your fiscal deficit as well? Are you not containing your fiscal deficit? Now, next point. No doubt you will have to repay it. But now please think of it now. Borrowing that 200 crore rupee this year compared to financial year 21. I'll repeat it. Right? Imagine Government of India will borrow 200 crore, give it to the authority, ask it to repay the loan. Now think of it. Borrowing that 200 crore in financial year 21 would be more problematic compared to today, because today fiscal deficit is 5.9%. Today fiscal deficit is 5.9%, and in 2021 fiscal deficit is more than 9%. So today you have more flexibility to borrow and give money to the authority to repay the loan. So that kind of flexibility will be given through off-budget borrowing as well as the extra budgetary resources. That is the reason governments follow the idea of off-budget borrowing. But now tell me, please do let me know, if Government of India will tell you its fiscal deficit, assuming they are doing off-budget borrowing, if Government of India will tell you its fiscal deficit is 5.9%, is it the true picture of liabilities of Government of India? Think of it. Is it representing a true picture of how much government needs to borrow this year? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. It's a misrepresentation. That is a precise reason the Finance Commission says we have to do away with off-budget borrowing. Right? Finance Commission says we have to do away with off-budget borrowing. And some of you might be thinking, sir, these are so technical. Why are you discussing all of it? My dear, if you're reading newspapers, please do let me know if all of these terminologies are there or not. I'll give you a couple of examples. IMF report on India's debt. Second, off-budget borrowing, off-budget liabilities. Have you come across a newspaper article where Kerala government has dragged the central government to Supreme Court of India? Think of it. Right? Have you come across the newspaper article where Kerala government has dragged union government, central government to Supreme Court of India? Why? Kerala government says the union government is putting restriction on my borrowing. It is putting a lot of conditions on my borrowing. When central government will borrow through off-budget borrowings, they do not count it as its a fiscal deficit. But when I borrow as a state government through off-budget borrowing, central government is counting it as a part of my borrowing and it is restricting the flow of funds to my state. That is the reason. I hope you understand. That's the reason all these topics are there in the discussion. Please be very, very careful. Please be very, very careful. Okay, done. Come to the next point now. Public debt. Out of the overall debt, majority of the debt is of the central government. That makes perfect sense. Out of the overall means general. Out of the general debt, more than 70% of the debt is of central government. Out of the central debt, only of the fraction of it, only a small part of it is external. The government also has a portfolio of long-term or long tenure bond. This we have discussed earlier. Let me ask the same question again. If you are the government, would you prefer to borrow for short duration or would you prefer to borrow for longer duration? Let me know. If you are the government, would you prefer to borrow for a short duration or a longer duration? Longer duration. Always prefer for a longer duration. Why? Flexibility. You will have lot of flexibility of repayment, right? Lot of this public debt of Government of India is consisting of long duration bonds. The government debt characterized by low foreign exchange rate risk. The government debt is characterized by low foreign exchange rate risk. All of you okay with this point? Because we have discussed this couple of minutes ago. If you borrow majorly from external market, you'll have to repay in dollars and exchange rate volatility will affect you. And in India, only a small part, and some of you are not able to read the table properly. Some of you are not reading the tables properly, right? Read the table properly, my dear. Some of you are saying, why are you not counting internal debt? Why are you not counting external debt when you're counting liability? My dear, please read the table properly first. Public debt is a sum total of internal debt as well as external debt. Please look at the table correctly first. Public debt is a sum total of internal debt as well as external debt. That is, when you borrow, you can borrow in the domestic market, you can borrow in the international market. All of this is a liability. So internal debt as well as external debt, that will give you public debt. Right? Don't say you are not counting external debt, you are not counting this, you are not counting that. A is all of this. Okay, so B is public account, C is extra budgetary resources. So if you see the total public debt here, if you see the total public debt, 121 lakh crore rupees. 121 lakh crore rupees. Out of that, internal debt is 114 crore rupees. Look at it. Out of 121 lakh crore rupees, internal debt is 114 lakh crore rupees. So can I say around 95%? I repeat, around 95% of the public debt is internal in nature, and somewhere around 5% of the public debt is external in nature, which means, right, we will face very low exchange rate risk. Right, the exchange rate risk is highly minimized. India's public debt is much lower than many of the developed countries. It is much lower than many of the developed countries. So these are some of the features or characteristics of public debt of Government of India. Done? Can we go forward now? Can we go forward now? Any doubts, any questions, any concerns? Okay. Finance Commission. Next concept of discussion will be Finance Commission. So budgeting is done, Finance Commission. Now what is the Finance Commission? Again, Finance Commission is an overlap. It's an overlap in polity also, in economics also. I will focus more on economic aspect of it. I'll focus more on the economic aspect of Finance Commission. Listen carefully. Point number one, Finance Commission is a constitutional body. Constitutional body. Under Article 280, of Indian Constitution, President of India, once every 5 years or whenever there is a requirement, will appoint a Finance Commission. Finance Commission will consist of 5 members. One is a chairman, 4 are members. Okay, one is a chairman, 4 are members. These 5 members will be asked by Government of India. I repeat, these 5 members will be asked by Government of India to study some of the things and give recommendations, to take up certain studies and give recommendations to Government of India. Point number 4, whatever recommendations are given by the Finance Commission, these are advisories in nature. Please remember this. Whatever are the recommendations of the Finance Commission, these are advisories. Advisories means what? I am advising you to read a newspaper every day. Now, whether you follow it or not is entirely up to you. Is it okay? Right? All of these recommendations are advisories in nature. Advisories simply means these are not binding on the union government. These are absolutely have no binding on the union government. These are not mandatory for the Government of India to follow. Right? So that is a very important point. Please remember this. Now, when you say Finance Commission, in what area the recommendations are given, right? Under what parameters the recommendations are given? These are the most important areas. And in fact, if you're reading regarding the 16th Finance Commission, if you're reading in the newspapers regarding 16th Finance Commission, very recently Government of India has appointed 16th Finance Commission. They have given these same terms of references. The same terms of references have been given by Union Government to the 16th Finance Commission. Now, what are the areas in which the Finance Commission will study and give recommendation? Point number 1, distribution of taxes between the center and the states. Distribution of taxes between center and the states. Now, just a revision for all of you now. Taxation, we have discussed it. Central government will impose and collect a lot of these taxes. Income tax, right? The corporate taxes, the excise duties, etc. So central government imposes and collects lot of these taxes. Now, according to the Constitution of India, these taxes which are collected by the center will be put in a pool, will be put under one account called as divisible pool. All these taxes, again, of course, I'll come to the next point now. Of course, some of these taxes are exempted. Some of the taxes are not kept under the divisible pool. What kind of taxes? You will remember cesses and surcharges. Cesses and surcharges. Cesses and surcharges are used by the center only. There is no compulsion. There is absolutely no compulsion on the center to distribute these cesses and surcharges. If central government wants, I repeat, if the central government wants, only then they will distribute the cesses and surcharges. Otherwise, no, they will keep it with itself. Okay. So the divisible pool of taxes will be collected. Now, how much of the divisible pool of taxes will be given to the center and how much of it will be given to the states? How much part or what part of the divisible pool will go to the center and what part will go to the states? That is one recommendation. And second recommendation, how much of this money which has been allocated to the states, how much will go to state 1, how much will go to state 2, how much will go to state 3, so on and so forth, till state number 28. So all of you okay with this? What is the most important recommendation? Most important recommendation of a finance commission? Finance commission will recommend how much of the divisible pool will go to the states and center, and whatever money has gone to the states now, how much of it will be given to state 1, how much will be given to state 2, state 3, state 4, etc. The first division, this is called as a vertical devolution formula. The first one is called as a vertical devolution formula. What do you mean by vertical devolution formula? Using this formula, we will divide the divisible pool of taxes between center and the states. Is it okay? Vertical devolution means in what percentage the central divisible pool will be divided between center and the states. Now, let's say hypothetically, I'll take the 15th Finance Commission number. 15th Finance Commission says from the divisible pool, 41% should go to states and remaining 59% should go to center. Which means assuming divisible pool is 100 crore, can I say directly states put together will get 41 crore rupees and center will get 59 crore rupees. Anybody has a difficulty in this calculation also? Assuming divisible pool is 100 crore, center based on the formula will get 59 crore, states will get 41 crore. Now next question is, how this 41 crore rupees will be distributed between Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, right, West Bengal, Assam, Rajasthan, Punjab, etc. How it will be distributed? On what parameters it will be distributed? That is basically called as horizontal devolution formula. Horizontal devolution formula. So all of you okay with this? Vertical devolution formula represents division of central divisible pool between center and states. Whereas horizontal devolution formula will decide from the pool that is allocated to the states, from the money that is allocated to states, how much money will go to each of the states. That is called as horizontal devolution formula. That is the most important, please remember this, most important function of Finance Commission. It will recommend this. Point number 2, what are the principles using which, what measures should be used so that the consolidated fund of the states, what are the measures that should be used so that the consolidated fund of the states, it is a fund of the states. So consolidated fund of the states collection will increase, and this increased collection will help us in giving more funds to municipalities, panchayats, etc. I'll repeat it. What measures should be used so that consolidated fund of the states, the money that is there in the consolidated fund of the states will increase, and that we will use it to provide more funding for municipalities, panchayats, etc. Point number 3, certain grants are given by the central government to the state governments. I'll repeat the statement. Certain grants are given by the central government to the state governments. On what basis? On what basis these grants should be allocated? Principles which are governing grant in aid to the states. So how, on what basis the grants should be allocated to the states? That also has to be recommended. And finally, any other matter, if the central government wants to refer any other matter to the finance commission, they can refer any other matter to the finance commission. So these are the different terms of references, but out of it, the most important one is the first one. Now, before I go forward, please look at this picture and now tell me, does this picture make sense to you? Again, what I'm talking about is this particular point. I'll use a black color now. Let me know. Right, in a budget, there is a, there's a component that is a state's share of taxes and duties, and a finance commission and other transfers. All of you okay? What are these two components now? State's share of taxes and duties, and the second one is finance commission and other transfers. One represents tax devolution, how the taxes are getting distributed going to the states. Second one represents the grants, allocation of grants by the center to the states in a particular year's budget. Okay, so these are different terms of references which are allocated to the finance commission by the government of India. Right, any doubts here? Repeat third one. What measure should be taken? What policies should be followed so that the consolidated fund of the states, consolidated fund means money, the money that is there in the consolidated fund of the states will increase, because we can use these funds, right, that is money, to provide funding for the municipalities, the panchayats, etc. Okay, done. Why public account is placed in external debt? Where it is placed? You tell me, where is the public account placed under external? Sorry, why is public account placed in external debt? Where it is placed, my dear? What are you reading? I absolutely have no idea. Where is the public account? Where is the external debt, etc.? What are you reading? I don't know. Look at this picture. Please look at this picture. Where is the external debt? Where is public account? Right? Do you think external debt is a part of the public account? Where? What are you reading? What are you saying? I absolutely have no idea. Okay. And some of you do not revise polity also. Right? Some of you do not revise polity also. Sir, will the union territories get the funding under the tax devolution? Why? How come union territories, you tell me, how come union territories will get the tax devolution? You tell me, what is your logic behind it? Right? Have you not read regarding union territories in your polity classes? Finances of the union territories are handled by a state government or the union government. I don't know, Baba. If you do not revise, then everything will become difficult. Everything is new for you. Okay? Read, revise. If you don't revise, it becomes difficult. Okay, next. Now, regarding vertical devolution formula. 11th Finance Commission recommended vertical devolution formula of 29.5%. 12th recommended 30.5%. 13th recommended 32%. 14th recommended 42%. And the 15th Finance Commission has recommended 41%. Is it okay? Right. So 12th recommended 30.5%, 13th 32%, 14th 42%, and 15th Finance Commission recommended 41%. Again, understand simple. 15th Finance Commission also wanted to recommend 42% only. In the report they have written, they wanted to recommend 42% only. But understand the difference now. between the duration of a 14th Finance Commission to the duration of 15th Finance Commission, can I simply say there is one state which has been made as a union territory? Let me know. In the 14th to 15th Finance Commission, right? What is the change? Why not more than 42? Why not even 42? What has changed? Can I simply say one of the state has been made as a union territory? So that is the reason Finance Commission stated that I cannot allocate 42% devolution even in the 15th Finance Commission. I will adjust it to 41%. I will simply adjust it to 41%. Okay, so this is vertical devolution formula as per 15th Finance Commission. Now, what about horizontal devolution formula? Before you are going to ask me, I am only going to say, listen to this very carefully. Do not by heart the table. Please do not by heart the table. You don't need to remember the complete table, not needed. Why? It's all very technical in nature, not at all needed. What you need to simply remember, I'll just consolidate it in a much better way. Same table, only for 15th Finance Commission. I'll come back to this, don't worry. This is the table that you need to by heart. Mug up, by heart. This is my advice to you. Whether you want to take it or leave it, entirely up to you. This is my advice to you. And point number 2 regarding the table, simply by heart. Do not complicate by reading the details of what you mean by income distance, what you mean by forest and ecology, what you mean by tax and fiscal efforts. Not at all needed. You don't trust me, I know that. Please check the prelims question paper of this year. Please check the prelims question paper of the current cycle. You will see there was one question asked by UPSC from this table. Straightforward. There was one question asked by UPSC in the prelims on this table itself. That's the reason I'm saying all these terminologies are very technical in nature. Very, very technical in nature. For example, despite saying all of this, many of you will start typing, discuss income distance, discuss the tax and fiscal efforts. I'll give you one definition. Income distance measures what is the distance between the state with highest per capita gross state domestic product with other states as per the average of per capita income between 2016 and 2018. Now, please tell me, do you think UPSC is going to ask you these kind of things? I'll repeat it again. Right? The income distance basically measures what is the difference between the per capita gross state domestic product of one state, that is the highest one, with other states as per the average of a per capita income for 3 years. UPSC is never going to ask you all of it. If they ask you all of it, then imagine they expect you to be a finance minister. Not even finance minister, let's say finance secretary. They expect you to be an expert in financing. All of this is not needed, simply by heart. There are 6 parameters. Simple, there are 6 parameters. What are the 6 parameters? Right? Income distance, which has the highest weightage, 45%. Next one is a population, 15%. Area, 15%. Demographic performance, 12.5%. Forest and ecology, 10%. And the lowest being tax and fiscal efforts, 2.5%. Simply by heart this. And when I say population here, it is population of 2011. It is population of 2011. Population of 2011 was taken to provide weightages of 15% in the 15th Finance Commission. Now, coming to one more question, which many of you have started asking, sir, what is this weightage? Why weightages are important? Should we remember the weightages? My answer is remember the weightages. Please by heart along with the weightages. Why so? If you are reading in the newspapers, in the books, they will not give all of this. Generally, there is a contention, there is a criticism from the southern states that central government doesn't give us sufficient funds under the Finance Commission recommendation. I'll repeat the statement. There's always this allegation that, which is made by southern states and some of the northeastern states, that central government doesn't allocate sufficient funds to these states based on the recommendation of the Finance Commission. Now, why is there an allegation? Why is there a concern raised by the southern states? All of this is possible because of weightages. All of these are possible because of weightages only. How so? Let me prove it. Please look at the weightage given to the population. Please look at weightage given to population. How much is the weightage given to population? 15%. 15%. And what population is considered, right, in the 15th Finance Commission? 2011 population. Now, very simple question to you. Very simple question to all of you. Does it not mean if you have a 15% weightage for 2011 population, does it not mean a state with very high population automatically will get more funds? Think of it. Please think of it. Does it not mean state with very high population automatically will end up getting more funds? What is the weightage given to area? Area weightage is again 15%. Then does it again not mean the state which is very, very large, whether this is highly industrialized, whether this requires money or not, a state with very large size area automatically will get more funds? Now, how so? Let me prove it. This is just a hypothetical calculation. This is just a hypothetical calculation to make you understand. I'm taking a simple calculation. And what I've done here, I've assumed, listen, I've assumed there are only two states in India. I've assumed there are only two states in India. And I'm again assuming Finance Commission will recommend horizontal devolution based on only two parameters. I can take 6 parameters, I can take 28 states and take 2 days to explain calculation. But is it required? Absolutely no. Within 2 minutes, you will understand why this is important. Let's start. Let's assume only 2 states. Let's assume only 2 parameters in horizontal devolution formula. So population has been given a weightage of 40%. Area has been given a weightage of 60%. Which means, now look at the calculation. If the total transfer to the states is 100 crore, if the total transfer to the states is 100 crore, then it will be divided into 2 parts. 40 crore will be reserved for population and 60 crore will be reserved for area. Okay, 40 for population and 60 crore for area. Now, how this 40 crore will be distributed between the states and how 60 crore will be distributed between 2 states? Let me explain. State 1 and state 2, let's assume state 1 has a population of 30%, again out of total, and state 2 obviously has to have a remaining 70%. Now, how much funds have been allocated for population here? 40 crore rupee has been allocated. So I will take this 40 crore rupee, I will divide that into 2 parts, that is 30% of 40 crore and 70% of 40 crore. Can I say, based on this, can I say state 1 will get 12 crore rupee? And those are asking how it will become 12 crore, how it is 40 crore, use calculators. Right? So 30% of 40 crore will become 12 crore and 70% of 40 crore will become 28 crore. At least now, all of you are okay with if I say state with a very high population, whatever weightage is given for population, whatever state has the highest population, very highly populated, automatically will end up getting more funds. All of you okay? All of you okay with this point? The states with very high population, whatever weightage has been allocated for population doesn't matter. 15%, 5%. So whatever funds will come to population, out of that, automatically state with very high population will get more funds. What about area? Area has 60 crore rupee. So state 1 accounts for 20% area of India and state 2, let's say, accounts for remaining 80%. So divide that 60 crore into 20% and 80%. State 1 will get 12 crore rupee. State 2 will get 48 crore rupee. Right? So now, all of you okay if I say the states which are right having very large sizes, states with very large sizes, and it's not very difficult to find out which states have very large sizes. Right? Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, right? Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra. These are states with very high population as well as very high area. So can I simply say, if you look at the formula, automatically the states with very high population, very large sizes will end up getting lot of funding from the Finance Commission recommendation. Right? So that is the precise reason. That is the precise reason southern states, Kerala, Karnataka, right, Telangana, etc. They'll keep on right arguing. They'll keep on alleging that central government by taking or by basically or the finance commission by giving a horizontal devolution formula based on population, area, size, etc. They are biased against southern states. Those kind of recommendations will only ensure more funds will go to some of the states and less funds will go to southern states. And what is the other side of this argument? What is the content? What is the counterpoint to this argument? Finance Commission says if a state has more population, does it not mean the states should be allocated more funds? Think logically now. Look at the other side of the argument. If a state has a very high population, does it not mean automatically we should allocate more funding to the state? If the state size is very, very high, does it not mean funding requirement for the states will be very high? That is exactly what we are doing. But now another counterpoint of the southern states is, then look at what is the contribution from the southern states. Look at what is the contribution. In terms of GDP, we contribute very high. In terms of income taxes, we contribute very high. In terms of, let's say corporate taxes, we contribute very high. So when we contribute very high, more allocation should be done to us. Right? So I hope you understand there are arguments as well as counter arguments. Right? But again, what is the fact? What is the fact? Just go with that. Have both the sides of the argument. What is the fact? Vertical devolution formula is 41%. Horizontal devolution formula is based on 6 parameters. Right? So this is basically VDF and VDF as well as HDF in the 15th Finance Commission. Can we go forward? Again, don't keep on arguing this, that, etc. My dear, understand the contention so that you have sufficient data. Right? Let me give you another contention. The population control measures have been implemented in India for many decades. Right? The population control measures have been implemented, right, as a policy for many decades in India. Now, please understand, if there is one state which has not implemented the measures correctly or efficiently, and there is another state, let me write it so that you understand. Imagine state one has implemented population control measures very efficiently, and state 2 has not implemented these measures, right, not efficient, or not so much efficiency was done in the state 2. Now, because of this, population in the state 2 will be greater than population in state 1. Yes, population state 2 will be greater than population state 1. And now, because of this 15th Finance Commission recommendation, automatically more funds will go to state 2. Now, don't you think there will be an argument like this? That is, are we incentivizing, are we promoting inefficient implementation of policies? Look at the statement. Please look at the statement. Again, this is the argument. Right? Are we not incentivizing inefficient implementation of policies? Of course, yes. So southern states will say, we have implemented policies better. So give us more funds. Right? But what your people are doing, by taking these kind of parameters, you are incentivizing inefficient policy making. That is the reason. That's the reason. 15% for population, 10% for area. These are generally contested. Okay. And those who are saying, sir this, sir that, do me a favor. Please do me a favor. Go to Google and see which of the states are getting highest devolution. I repeat, go to the Google and search which of the states are getting highest devolution under 15th Finance Commission. Those are saying, but sir, income distance, that will happen, this will happen, that will happen. You'll be surprised to know the most populous states, the largest states in India are getting the highest devolution. They are getting the highest devolution. Check it. Okay. Okay. Now, just for sake of information, one more table. Just for sake of information. Okay. Vertical devolution, total tax collection will be 135 lakh crore rupee for 5 years. That is right now, please understand, for 5 years from 21 to 26. The 5-year duration for the 15th FC is 21 to 26. So total tax collection will be 135 lakh, but we cannot use all the 135 lakh. Why? We will have to remove cesses, we will have to remove surcharges. After you remove cesses and surcharges, you will get the divisible pool. You will get the divisible pool. From that, if you calculate 41%, if you calculate 41%, you will get it as 42.2 lakh crore. And we also have grants. We also have grants. What kind of grants? We have revenue deficit grants. I'll show you data. Have a look at this. We have revenue deficit grant. What do you mean by revenue deficit grant? Again, this was also there in the newspaper. Kerala government is discussing this also. What do you mean by revenue deficit grant? Is it okay if I say, just like the central government, even the states will have revenue deficit? I'll repeat it. Just like the central government, can I say, even the states will have revenue deficit? Anybody wants to disagree with me? Anybody has a contention regarding that? Let me know. But now tell me, if the states have revenue deficit, should all the states get grant from the central government? Does it make sense to you? Should all the states get a grant for maintaining or having a revenue deficit? For example, an industrial state such as Maharashtra, Gujarat, right, Tamil Nadu, or for that matter, Karnataka, these are industrial states. They have very huge revenue potential. Should these states get revenue deficit grant? Answer is no. Only some of the states as identified by the Finance Commission will get revenue deficit grants. So central government will provide revenue deficit grants of 2.9 lakh crore rupee. Sector specific grants also have been allocated for the development of various sectors: agriculture, judiciary, right, a road sector, that is basically roads which have been developed in rural part of India, right, under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Health, education, 8 sectors have been identified, and for these 8 sectors, Government of India has allocated 1.3 lakh crore based on the recommendation of Finance Commission. State specific, certain states have been allocated grant for different projects. 49,000 crore, 49,000 odd crore. Gram panchayats have been allocated, right? Local bodies have been allocated grants worth 4.3 lakh crore rupees. And for disaster management also, grants have been allocated 1.6 lakh crore rupees. Now, many of you are asking, should we remember all of this data? Should we remember all of this data? My answer is, right, may not be required. UPSC may not ask you the division of all the grants. But remember, totally, if you put together all of this, it comes to be more than 10 lakh crore rupee. That is my recommendation. It comes to be more than 10 lakh crore rupee. Remember that. Right? Total grants under the Finance Commission put together are more than 10 lakh crore rupee. So now have a look at it based on the recommendations. Again, listen to me very carefully. Based on the recommendations, can I say between 21 to 26, total money that will be transferred from the center to the states would be more than 52 lakh crore rupees? All of you okay with this? Would be more than 52 lakh crore rupee. But again, next point is also very important. Does it mean at the end of 5 years, it will be exactly more than 52 lakh crore rupees? Because remember, all these are recommendations. All these are recommendations. Recommendations means what? These are not binding on the central government. These are not binding on the central government. These are simply advices. And in many of these, there are certain conditions imposed by the central government. In many of these grants only, many of these grants, more than 10 lakh crore rupees, central government has put conditions. They have put conditions, conditional grants. You achieve this, then I will release the grant. So many of the states are not able to meet those conditions and they're criticizing the center for that. They're not able to meet those conditions. And if they're not able to meet those conditions, automatically central government will not be releasing the grant. So all of you okay with this? As per the recommendation, total money flow should be more than 52 lakh crore rupee between 21 to 26. But it can be more. Generally, it will not happen. Central government will never give more than 52 based on the recommendations. But it is mostly seen it will be less than 52 lakh crore rupees. Done. So this is horizontal devolution as well as vertical devolution. I'll show you a table now. After this, we'll take a break. Don't worry. After this, let's take a break. So these are recommendations, right? There is parameters based on which horizontal devolution formula has been prepared in different finance commission. Should you remember the table? No, not needed. Not needed at all. Why? Please understand, I've given the horizontal devolution formula for only 4 finance commissions. Only 4 finance commissions I've given horizontal devolution formula. If you want to by heart, then you'll have to start from the first finance commission. That's very, very complicated. Very, very complicated. Please do not try to by heart it. But then what is the use of the table? Now look at the table. Please look at the table. I'll ask you questions. Let me know. The 15th Finance Commission is the first commission to give weightage for population in the horizontal devolution formula. Correct? Incorrect? I'll repeat the question. I will repeat the question. The 15th Finance Commission is the first commission to give weightage for 2011 population in the horizontal devolution formula. Correct or incorrect? Some of you are not even able to observe. That is very interesting for me. Some of you are not even able to observe. My dear, what about 14th Finance Commission? Observe. Please observe. What about 14th Finance Commission? Even in the 14th Finance Commission, there was a weightage for 2011 population. Correct. So, 15th Finance Commission is the first Finance Commission to give weightage for 2011 population. Statement is wrong. Statement is wrong. Now, let me rephrase. Let me rephrase the statement. 15th Finance Commission is the first Finance Commission to give weightage for only 2011 population in horizontal devolution formula. I'll repeat it. I'll repeat the statement. Listen carefully. 15th Finance Commission is the first Finance Commission to give weightage for only 2011 population. Right? That is for population, only 2011 was considered in the horizontal devolution formula. Right? Again, if you are having a doubt, I'll just rephrase it. It is the first Finance Commission to give weightage for population considering only 2011 population in the horizontal devolution formula. Statement is correct. Some of you are saying no. Why? Why? Statement is correct. Weightage for population is given. Correct. Okay. But the second part of the statement is only 2011 population weightage, only 2011 population was covered for population weightage. That is correct. Okay. Right. So apart from this, another type of question can be between 14th Finance Commission and 15th Finance Commission. 14th and 15th. For example, have a look at this. Can I say 15th Finance Commission compared to 14th Finance Commission has given weightage for demographic performance? Has given weightage for demographic performance. All of you will be okay with this, right? So these kind of questions can be asked. These kind of questions can be asked, comparison based questions. Please be very careful. Please be very careful. And again, the only reason I'm saying, it's not that questions have not been asked in the past 2 or 3 years on Finance Commission. Questions have been asked. But because government has announced setup of 16th Finance Commission, again Finance Commission becomes important. That's a reason. Read it carefully, understand it carefully. Okay, couple of more points are there. We'll take it up after the break. Right, a fiscal roadmap, the taxation reforms, right? Let's say even for the defense sector, recommendations have been provided. We'll take it up after the break. Now, any questions that you have, let me know. Otherwise, we'll take a break. Why it is allowed to the government to borrow now and to repay it after 30 to 50 years? Isn't it will make the upcoming government burdened? My dear, borrowing means what? Borrow today, repay it later. And please understand, any borrowing done by the government, irrespective of political party, any borrowing done by the government will be honored in the future. And now, right, your argument is correct. Sir, if you borrow today, it will become a burden for the future governments. That is the reason, are we not trying to contain our fiscal deficit? Please think of it and do let me know. Right? Your argument is, sir, if you borrow today, it will become a burden for the future government. Absolutely correct. You're correct. That is the precise reason. Are we not trying to contain fiscal deficit? Why are we reducing fiscal deficit? What is the logic behind it? Why do we want to reduce it to 3%? So that you borrow today, no problem, borrow today. But the burden of repayment will become lesser for the future government if your fiscal deficit today is lesser. That is the reason. Okay. If government is issuing bond for 10 years late, it will mature in 2032. Then how it can be fiscal deficit for 2024? My dear, please understand it very carefully. I said, if government of India will borrow today by issuing a bond today, it will be counted as fiscal deficit as well as public debt. Government of India has borrowed last year. It is not this year's fiscal deficit, but it is still a liability. So it will be counted as a part of public debt. Okay. Okay. Budget trajectory. Where did I use budget trajectory? I said debt trajectory. Debt trajectory means a path. The NK Singh Review Committee from 1 year to next year has given a pathway to what percentage the debt has to be reduced for union government. Same should be recommended to the states by the Finance Commission, which has not been done. What is a deficit grant? I'll repeat it again. Just like the central government, even the states will have a revenue deficit. But from one state to another state, revenue generation capacity will be different. So the grants which are given to the states to bridge the revenue deficit should not be given to all the states. Based on certain parameters, Finance Commission will identify some states, and only to these states revenue deficit grants will be given. Is Provident Fund a debt creating receipt or a non-debt creating receipt? Please understand this. All these types of borrowings generally are kept under debt creating. But please understand the logic behind it. These kind of small savings funds, these are kept in the public account. These are not kept in the consolidated fund of India. Right? So that is a very important difference. Right? What is there in the consolidated fund of India? Right? Basically the taxes collected, right? The fees and fines collected, etc. Extra budgetary borrowing and off budget borrowing are the same. No, both are not one and the same. Extra budgetary resources is an umbrella term. It's a bigger term. For example, listen to me carefully. Food Corporation of India, or let's say National Highways Authority of India, has generated money. Can they invest in the infrastructure project? Yes. If this infrastructure project is announced by the center will contribute, and National Highways Authority of India from its own money will contribute. right? So central government is contributing some, NHIA is contributing some extra budgetary resources. Now, rather than spending its own resources, rather than NHI investing from its own resources, can they borrow from the market and invest? Of course, that is also allowed. That is extra budgetary borrowing or off budgetary borrowing. But both of it, that is whether NHI will invest from its own money or will borrow, it is out of the budget. It is out of the budget. Hence, extra budgetary resources. Okay, done. Let me take a break then. Let me take a break. We'll restart at 8:20. We'll restart at 8:20. Please join at 8:20. Okay, welcome back. Am I audible? Am I audible? Can we go forward? Okay, thanks a lot. Let's start. So, other recommendations. I'll repeat other recommendations of Finance Commission. Regarding fiscal roadmap, the 15th Finance Commission has recommended that whatever whatever targets the state governments have set up under the FRBM, state governments also have the FRBM. Whatever targets the states have set up in their FRBM Act, they should stick to their own target. The 15th Finance Commission will not be giving any separate debt trajectory for them. Right? So that is the first one. Second one, whenever extra budgetary borrowings are done, whenever extra budgetary resources are utilized in the budget, the central government should fully disclose it. Have a transparent method, fully disclose it. And over a period of time, we should be able to eliminate extra budgetary borrowings. We should eliminate the process of extra budgetary borrowings. Third one, set up a committee, set up a panel, set up a committee which will recommend Government of India to have a better financial management system, to have better system of managing finances. For example, how funds are released, how funds are utilized, etc. We should have a sound management system. Set up a committee. In this regard, I'll just give you one example. Many of you ask, sir, what do you mean by sound financial management? We don't understand, etc., etc. I'll just give you one example. Please think logically always. Think logically and let me know. Central government, let's say, will allocate 100 rupees, transfer 100 rupee for a scheme to state government. Now, please tell me, should the 100 rupee for the scheme should be released by the central government without knowing when the state governments will utilize the funds, or we should have a separate system wherein center will ask the state how much funds you want the scheme. Out of 100 rupees, show me that you have done something in the scheme. Let's say worth 20 rupees you have spent. I will transfer 20 rupees out of 100 rupees for the scheme. After 2 more months, state will submit another, right, let's say another report saying that, okay, we have spent another 30 rupees for the scheme. Now, after 2 months, another 30 rupee will be transferred from the center. Please tell me which one is a better financial management system. For a scheme, let's say 1 year, 100 rupees required, you will simply transfer all the 100 to the state, let them utilize whenever they want to. Or the second system where 100 rupee has been allocated, no doubt, 100 rupee has been allocated, but I will not transfer all the 100. I will transfer, let's say 20 rupees, and now the state has to prove that they have spent 20 rupees. Now, after a couple of months, again, they will prove that they have spent 30 rupees, I'll transfer 30 rupees, so on and so forth. All of you will agree, second system is much better. Let me know. All of you will agree, second system is much better. Why? Please understand. If the scheme requires 100 in 1 year, and if I allocate all the 100 rupee for a scheme, what if, think of it, the funds will be transferred in the month of April. Let's say funds will be transferred by the center in the month of April, and the state will utilize this in the month of December. Possible? Possible. Of course, yes, it's possible. But in the second case, the funds will be allocated, right? Some amount of the funds will be allocated. State should prove that they've utilized it. Only then, right, another amount will be released. Let the state prove that they've utilized, and another fund is used. Another part of the funding is released after that. So based on the requirement, based on whatever is the estimate they are going to incur, funds will be released. Is the center doing this? Central government is doing the second one now. Very recently, from 2021, central government has started utilizing the second system. Please be very careful. Right? Many of you might be thinking, no difference. Anyways, we are going to spend 100 rupee. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Right? Let me know. Whatever funds are allocated, does it guarantee that all the funds are 100% of the funds are utilized always? Think of it. Please think of it. Whenever funds are allocated by the center to any ministry, any state, etc., etc., does it always mean 100% of the funding is utilized? No. Right? So don't you think By simply allocating 100 rupee, you are keeping some of the amount idle. Correct? Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. By simply allocating 100 and transferring 100 rupees, are you not simply keeping some amount idle? Right? And moreover, please think of it. If you allocate 100 rupees today and the state utilizes after 6 months, rather than giving it today, give it after 6 months. Give it after 6 months, so that today whatever money you have, you can utilize this money in a much efficient manner. Okay, that is the reason this kind of a system is being utilized. Just to prove this particular point, right, please read this article. Those who are asking what is this, I don't know, etc., etc., I've given this article of budget borrowing. Please read this article. There is one more article regarding the same thing that I've discussed now. Just a second. Okay, this one. New banking norms help save interest cost for CSS central fund transfers. Read this article as well. Right, so I hope you understand there are a lot of things that are being discussed in the current affairs. Regarding various policies of government of India, but generally these are not covered in Hindu. My only grievance is these are not covered in Hindu. So you will have to expand your scope, expand your reading to beyond Hindu as well. Okay, next. Regarding taxation, what has been the recommendation? The 15th FC says you will have to broaden the tax base, right? Increase the number of taxpayers, right? Increase the assets on which the taxes are going to be increased. The tax rates have to be streamlined, be it GST, be it, right, let's say the capital gains tax. There is a lot of requirement of rationalization or streamlining of the tax rates. Increase the capacity as well as expertise of the tax department, train them, introduce a new type of technology. I'll just give you one point regarding this. I don't know how many of you read the Economic Times newspaper. Yesterday there was one article regarding how tax departments are using technology. I'll repeat, how tax departments are using technology to increase the taxes collection. Right? If you want, I'll give it in the next week. This collection I've not given it. If you want, I'll give it in the next week. Right? For example, the tax department now has started utilizing artificial intelligence, AI technology they're using, so that they'll be able to collect more data from banking sector, from SEBI, from this, from that, etc. They'll be able to collect, organize all the information, and now they are demanding and they are able to collect more and more taxes. So now the tax department is using technology to increase the taxes collection. Okay. So increase the capacity as well as the expertise of the tax administration, provide them with technology, provide them with better infrastructure, so that the tax revenue collection will increase. And regarding GST, it has recommended that we need to rationalize the GST structure. Number of tariffs are very high. We need to rationalize them. We need to ensure that revenue collection increases. Revenue protection, please understand. Revenue collection increases because there is a lot of volatility. Volatility means, right, there is uncertainty regarding revenue collections under GST. We need to address it. Right, so revenue collection has to be improved, volatility has to be reduced. Right, so these are recommendations regarding the taxation from the Finance Commission. Next one, it has also recommended a new type of a fund. It has recommended a new type of a fund for defense sector. What is this new fund? Modernization Fund for Defense and Internal Security. MFDIS, Modernization Fund for Defense and Internal Security, or else in Hindi it is basically referred to as Rashtriya Suraksha Naivedyam Kosh. Rashtriya Suraksha Naivedyam Kosh. Now, what is the use of this fund? The commission says the central government can transfer some of the funds from Consolidated Fund of India, into this fund. Okay, now Consolidated Fund of India, from that you can transfer the funds right under this fund. Or else, if a defense land is sold, if defense land is leased out, if defense sector companies are sold, etc., funds will be coming to the government. They should utilize all of these funds, and part of it should be transferred to MFDIS. Now, what is the use of this additional fund? Why extra fund for defense sector? The commission recommends that money from the fund can be utilized for improvement, modernization in the defense sector. The money can be utilized to provide certain welfare to the defense personnel. It can be used for training of different police forces. For example, we have CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces. We have state police forces. So we can utilize the money from the fund for training purposes of these police personnel or defense forces. So these are certain recommendations regarding the modernization fund for the defense sector, which has been recommended by the commission. So far, Government of India has not set it up. So far, Government of India has not set it up. Okay, done. So these are the other recommendations of Finance Commission. Again, I'll repeat it. These are recommendations in nature. And by virtue, when you say recommendations, these are advices. Central government may or may not follow these recommendations. Okay, so if you're going to ask me, sir, what are the sources? From which source I should read all these concepts? You may not get all these concepts, because some of these concepts I've taken from current affairs. I've taken a lot of these concepts from current affairs, but static concepts, budgeting, right? Finance Commission static concept, right? Let's say revenue account, capital account, etc. You can use these sources or resources to read. Okay, done. Can we go forward now? Questions are there. We'll take up questions later. Don't worry. Right? Questions, we'll take it up later. Next chapter that I'll be discussing will be financial market. Important, financial market. That will be the next chapter. Now, what are the concepts I'll be discussing under the financial market? Now, before I start, please understand this very carefully. Financial market as a chapter, questions have been asked in the UPSC examination mainly from current affairs. I'll repeat it. Mainly from current affairs, UPSC has picked up a lot of questions. And for that particular reason, we'll be discussing a lot of current affairs in this chapter. For example, please do let me know, in the last couple of weeks, have you people come across the term called as sovereign gold bond? Let me know. Have you come across the term called as sovereign gold bond? You should have come across. Second, have you come across newspaper articles where Government of India, that is Chief Economic Advisor, is not happy with how sovereign credit rating is calculated for India? Correct? This was there in the newspapers, by the way. The Chief Economic Advisor, right, basically says how methodology that is followed by the credit rating agencies, CRAs, is very opaque. It is unfair to India, etc., etc. Right? So, lot of these concepts are there in the current affairs. We'll discuss all of them. Listen to me very carefully. Now, let me start. Point number one. What do you mean by financial market? What is the meaning of the term financial market? Financial market basically is a market where funds are moving, funds are transferred. How the funds are transferred? It is a market where instruments are traded, instruments are purchased, instruments are sold. For example, please do let me know, if I'm a company, I repeat, if I'm a company, can I sell this bond to you? Let me see. If I'm a company, can I sell this bond to you? Of course, yes. And if I'm selling this particular bond to you, does it not mean a transaction wherein an instrument is bought, instrument is sold, and funds are transferred? Instruments are bought, instruments are sold, and funds are transferred. That is, from you, funds are transferred to me. I will sell the instrument, you will buy the instrument. That is basically the concept of financial market. So financial market is a market where instruments are bought, instruments are sold, traded, and funds are transferred. Now the financial market is divided into two parts. Financial market is divided into two parts. What are the two parts? Right, one is called as a capital market and second one is referred to as money market. One is capital market, second one is money market. Now, what is this idea of a capital market? What is this idea of a money market? Let's try and understand. Whenever a company, or anybody for that matter, company, government, etc., whenever, please remember this, whenever they want to borrow money, whenever they want to collect money from the market, there are generally two reasons. There are generally under two reasons why they want to borrow, or why they want to raise money. The two reasons are: one, either they want to take this money and use it for day-to-day expenditure purposes. I'll repeat the statement. Either they want this money to use it for day-to-day expenditure purposes. What do you mean by day-to-day expenditure purposes? The salaries or wages, for purchasing raw materials, for payment of electricity bills. These are called as day-to-day expenses. And whenever a company will spend money on day-to-day expenses, it is called as working capital. All of you okay with this? Whenever the company will spend money on day-to-day expenses, it is called as working capital. Right? That is one reason. A second reason, the company wants money so that they want to invest and purchase machinery. They want to invest and set up a new manufacturing facility. They want to invest and purchase a new company. Right? So that is investment requirement, capital investment. So there are generally two reasons, right? One of the two has to be there. Either one, they want money for working capital requirement, or second, they want money for capital formation or investment purposes. So whenever company wants, whenever the borrower wants, whenever the person who is taking money wants money for a shorter duration for working capital requirement, they will borrow it from money market. They'll borrow it from money market. So now please tell me, is it okay? Look at the first point. Is it okay if I say working capital requirement means day-to-day expenses? For that purpose, I will borrow for short term, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, less than 1 year. Right? Whereas if I want to purchase a machine, if I want to purchase one more company, if I want to set up a new manufacturing facility, for that I will borrow for a longer duration. So now, is it okay if I say money market, short-term borrowing, capital market, long-term borrowing, medium or long-term borrowing? In money market, instruments of up to 1 year maturity, instruments which will have less than 1 year maturity will be traded. Capital market, instruments which will have more than 1 year maturity will be traded. For example, please do let me know now. We have discussed this. Please do let me know. Bond. Right? Tell me, this particular instrument, this is a bond, by the way. This particular instrument, will it be traded in a money market or a capital market? Let me know. This instrument that I'm showing to you right now, will it be traded, that is issued, purchased, sold, etc.? Will it be traded in the money market or a capital market? It will be traded in a capital market. Right? Any confusion? Long term, 1 year and more than 1 year, capital market. On the other side, another example, let me ask you, another example, treasury bills. Treasury bills. Now tell me, treasury bills, will they be traded in a money market or a capital market? The treasury bills, will they be traded as a part of money market or a capital market? Can I say money market? All of you are okay with this? Anybody has a doubt regarding this? Because treasury bills will have a maturity period of maximum 364 days. Maximum 364 days. So treasury bills are having a maturity period of up to 1 year, whereas bonds generally will have a maturity period of more than 1 year. Right? So that is a basic idea. Money market, shorter duration instruments. Capital market, medium or long-term instruments. It will deal with the financing working capital. It will deal with capital formation, investment in assets. Banks are the main participants in the money market, right? Banks, along with many others. For example, insurance companies. For example, individuals such as you and me, right? Companies, etc. Many other participants are there along with the banks as financial institutions in a capital market. The retail investors, retail means individual investors. The retail investor participation is very, very low. I repeat, very, very low, very limited in a money market, where you'll understand in some time, have patience. Whereas comparatively, I repeat, comparatively, it is higher under the capital market. Who is the regulator for money market? It is Reserve Bank of India. Who is the regulator for capital market? It is Securities Exchange Board of India. Securities Exchange Board of India, SEBI. Right? So that is a basic difference between a money market as well as a capital market. Now, money market, multiple instruments are there. Capital market again is further divided into equity market as well as a debt market. Now let me start with money market, then we'll deal with the capital market. Now point number one, please do let me know repo rate as well as reverse repo. Repo market as well as reverse repo market or instruments. All of you will agree, anybody has a doubt regarding this, that these are part of money market. Repo as well as reverse repo. Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, no, I don't think so, these are part of money market, please do let me know now. Because, right, hardly been 1 week where we have discussed what is repo, what is reverse repo. Under both repo or reverse repo, under both of them, right, either lending or borrowing from RBI or to RBI, it will be shorter duration. It can be, right, 7 days, it can be 14 days, it can be 1 day for short duration. So repo and reverse repo straightforward is part of money market. Now let me shift to the second now. Call money market. We have not discussed the others. We'll discuss one by one. First one we have discussed. Others we'll discuss one by one. Call money market. Now what is this concept of call money market? Under call money market, one bank will lend to another bank. Very simple. I'll repeat the statement here. Under call money market, one bank will give a loan to another bank, and it is for very, very short duration. How short? It is as short as 1 day. It is as short as 1 day. That is, call money generally means one bank will give loan to another bank for overnight purposes, for only 1 day purposes. Borrow today and repay it tomorrow. That is generally call money. That tool is called as a call money. All of you okay with this? And some of you will ask me now, sir, why will the bank borrow from another bank? Why are they not borrowing from RBI, etc., etc.? My dear, please tell me, right? Do you think repo facility is available throughout the year on any given day for a bank? Think logically and let me know. Do you think repo facility is available throughout the year for a bank? No, it is a facility whenever RBI announces it is available, it is available. Right? So there are other tools also, sir. MSF is there. Rate of interest. What is the rate of interest? And let me give you another idea also. Do you think of this by the way, do you think a bank will approach RBI and RBI will give any amount of money in the form of loan to a bank? Think logically also, right? You approach, right, you're a bank, you will approach RBI and RBI says any amount of loan you want to take it. I don't have any limitations. Of course, no, that doesn't make any sense. So what if repo window is not available? The other facilities have dried out. At that particular point of time, automatically there will be a huge demand for money in the call money market. Huge demand is there, right? So that market is called as call money market. So whenever one bank will lend to another bank for very, very short duration, as short as overnight purposes, that market is called as call money market. Point number two, if you take a loan, it's a loan. If you take a loan, you'll have to pay rate of interest. And the rate of interest that is applicable in a call money market is called as call money rate, CMR. The rate of interest applicable on a loan taken in a call money market is called as call money rate. And point number three, Under the call money market, if you borrow for 1 day, that is overnight purposes, it is called as call money. If you borrow for more than 1 day, that is, let's say you borrow for 7 days, you borrow for 14 days, then this is called as notice money. All of you okay? You borrow for only 1 day, borrow today, pay it tomorrow, call money. But if you borrow it today for 7 days, for 14 days, then this is not called as right the call money. In fact, the technical term is notice money. Right? So these are all the important points regarding the concept of call money market. And some of you are asking, sir, where is the market present, etc. My dear, please understand this carefully. Nowadays, whenever you talk about markets, it doesn't literally mean there is a market. I'll repeat the statement. Do not imagine that when I say one bank will lend to another bank, do not imagine that one bank is standing with a suitcase in a place and another bank representative will go to that bank and take the suitcase and tomorrow will return the suitcase along with interest. No, do not imagine that. Do not imagine, right? It's all virtual now. It's all virtual. Everything is happening virtual. For example, just to make you understand in a better way, you will make a payment. All of you used UPI payment, correct? All of you have utilized UPI payment, right? Today, nowadays, it's very, very famous. UPI is very, very famous, right? Even a shopkeeper, vegetable cart holder, everybody is accepting UPI payments. Now, when you make a payment of 50 rupees using UPI, does it literally mean you are giving 50 rupee currency note to the seller? Think of it, right? When you make a UPI payment of 50 rupees, does it literally mean you are giving a 50 rupee currency note? No. You are transferring funds digitally. You're transferring funds digitally. Apply the same logic. Right? Whenever you talk about IPO, whenever you talk about FPO, whenever you talk about right call money market or commercial papers, etc., everything is digital now. Everything is done virtually. Okay, right? So this is a concept of call money market. Call money market. Next, commercial papers. Next concept is commercial papers. Now, what is this commercial papers? Listen carefully. After discussion of all of this, you will start asking me what is difference between commercial paper and commercial bill. If you're listening carefully, it should be pretty much evident to you. Commercial papers are issued by companies. Commercial papers are issued by companies to investors in the market. Right? Commercial papers are issued by the companies to investors. For example, if I have money, I want to invest in the market, I'm an investor. If you have money, you want to invest in the market, you are an investor. If a foreign institution will come into India, they want to purchase a commercial paper, they are investors. So commercial papers are short term, and these instruments are unsecured. Please remember this. Generally, these instruments are unsecured. Unsecured means what? No security, no collateral is provided. So these are unsecured instruments which are issued by the companies to borrow for a very short duration to take care of working capital expenses. They'll be issued for 3 months. They'll be issued for 6 months, etc. These are called as commercial papers. Right? So the commercial paper concept was introduced in 1990 in India. In fact, there was a committee, Vogel Committee. There was a committee, Vogel Committee. Vogel Committee recommended that we should have commercial papers in India. Okay. So these are instruments, tenure up to 1 year. These are unsecured. Unsecured means no security is provided. And please understand the next point. We have not discussed this credit rating. We'll discuss it. Don't worry. All the companies in India are not allowed to issue commercial papers. All of them are not allowed to issue commercial papers. Only some of them which have a very good credit rating, I know I've not discussed credit rating, have patience. Only companies which have got very good credit rating, generally investment grade and above, are allowed to issue commercial papers in India. And who is allowed to invest in the commercial papers? Individuals, you and me. At foreign investors, other institutional investors, mutual funds, insurance companies, banks, etc. These are the other types of investors who are allowed to invest and purchase commercial papers. Okay. So second tool, commercial paper. Sorry, third one. First one is repo, reverse repo. Second one was the call money market. Third one is commercial papers. Fourth one, certificates of deposit. Fourth one, certificates of deposits. Now, what is this concept of certificates? Arey Baba, some of you are asking, what is the use of commercial paper? Did you not hear me saying working capital requirement? Did you not hear when I discussed what is the requirement of a working capital, right? Where working capital is used, etc., etc. I don't understand why are you not listening? It's like going 2 steps forward, jumping 3 steps backward. Listen carefully, no? Please listen carefully. Okay, certificates of deposits. Now, what is certificate of deposit? Certificates of deposits are issued by financial institutions. These are issued by financial institutions, right? What kind of financial institutions? Banks, right? The certificates of deposits are issued by financial institutions. Now you will ask me, sir, why? What is the use of right, a certificate of deposit, etc. Now imagine you are a bank. Understand this carefully. Imagine you are a bank. In case of a bank, you will collect different types of deposits. You'll collect different types of deposits and you will use the money for lending purposes. Can there be a situation, and generally it happens, can there be a situation wherein there is a lot of demand for the credit in the market? A lot of demand is there, but you are not able to collect sufficient deposits from the customers. You're not able to collect sufficient deposits from the customers. So in that situation, generally, whenever bank requires a certain amount of money and they are not able to collect sufficient deposits, banks generally or the financial institution generally use certificate of deposit route. CODs, certificates of deposits, are issued. Now, what is the utility of certificate of deposit? Certificate of deposits are issued for a tenure generally up to 1 year. Generally up to 1 year. It could be 6 months, it could be 9 months, which means I will take money for 6 months, I will return it to you after 6 months. Now, some of you will simply say, but sir, after 6 months, right, what you should have money. My dear, please tell me, can there be a situation, again, generally it happens in the economy, right? Can you see a situation wherein in certain months, the withdrawal of the deposits from the banking sector will be very high compared to the normal other months? I'll repeat the statement. Think logically always. Can there be certain months in a year where withdrawals of the deposits from the banking sector will suddenly peak, suddenly increase? Answer is yes, by the way. And if you're wondering, right, how come it will increase, etc., year end. Now we are towards the calendar year end. So don't you think during this particular period, withdrawals of deposits from the banking sector will start increasing? I hope you understand this. Withdrawals in the banks will start increasing. What financial year end? What financial year end? During the financial year end also, withdrawals will start increasing. Why? Because people, companies, etc. will start paying taxes to government. That is the reason. Understand the logic behind it. In certain duration, banks want lot of deposits, but they're finding it very difficult to collect the deposits. For a short duration, they want money. So what they will do? They will use instruments such as certificates of deposits, which will have a short duration, because only for short duration the bank wants money. Over a period of time, they know they will get they'll be able to collect more deposits over a period of time. So issued by the financial institutions such as commercial banks, small finance banks, regional rural banks, all India financial institutions, etc. These are of short duration, very short duration, less than 1 year. These are transferable or these are tradable. What do you mean by transferable or tradable? Imagine this is a certificate of deposit. I'll repeat it. Imagine this is a certificate of deposit. I have purchased it. Now the duration of certificate of deposit is 6 months. But I want money. I want money. So I can simply sell it. I can simply trade it to other investor in the market. This is called as a tradability. This is called as transferability. Is it okay? Right? The certificate of deposits are tradable, are transferable. Let me ask you a question here itself. All of you, please tell me, are fixed deposits tradable? Listen to me carefully. Are the fixed deposits transferable or tradable? No. Fixed deposits are not transferable, not tradable. If you keep 2 lakh rupees in a fixed deposit, you cannot sell it to somebody else. You cannot sell it. But tell me now, right? Instead of keeping 2 lakh rupees in a fixed deposit, can you, of course, minimum investment is 5 lakh rupees. If you invest and purchase a certificate deposit, can you sell it in the market? Yes. Can you purchase a bond, sell it in the market? Of course, yes. This is tradability, transferability. Minimum amount of investment is 5 lakh. Some of the books have given it as 1 lakh. Some of the books have given it as 1 lakh. Very recently, it has been increased to 5 lakh rupees. It has been increased to 5 lakh rupees. Please be very careful. Who is allowed to invest in a certificate of deposit? Individuals, companies, etc. are allowed to invest in a certificate of deposit. Okay. Next one, commercial bills. Next one is the concept of commercial bill. Commercial bills are issued between traders. Traders means what? A buyer and a seller. Traders are nothing but a buyer and a seller. Let me explain. Listen now. Imagine I'm a company which is manufacturing raw material. You are a company who will purchase raw material, manufacture a product, sell it in the market. You are a company who will purchase raw material, manufacture, sell it in the market. So what I will do? I will take the raw material, sell it to you. And you will tell me, sir, I will make a payment, but after 45 days. You are saying you will make a payment. You will not default. You will say you will make a payment, not today, but after 45 days. It can be 45, it can be 60, it can be 90. Nowadays, even 120 days are being taken for a credit cycle. It is called as a credit cycle. Now I'll say, okay, pay me after 45 days, but till then, please issue a security. Please give me an instrument which has a proof that you will give me the amount on certain date. So now what you will do? You will give me an instrument. You will give me an instrument where you will put your signature, you will put your company seal, and you will write, let's say I'll take hypothetical examples here. Hypothetical example. Assuming you want 45 days to pay, and the trade, that is the selling has happened on the 1st of January. Selling has happened on the 1st of January. Understand this. You will issue an instrument to me, putting your name, your company seal, etc. And you will write in that instrument saying that on 15th of February, whoever is holding the instrument, to that person, you will pay 5 lakh rupees. Any difficulty here? I'll repeat it again. You will issue an instrument, that is, I will draw the instrument, you will put your sign and a signature here, signature and company seal. What does the instrument say? The instrument simply says, on 15th of February, that is exactly 45 days from today, whoever is holding this instrument, you will pay 5 lakh rupees to the holder of the instrument. Is it okay? Why am I saying holder of the instrument? Understand this point carefully. Imagine this is issued on 1st of January. On 20th January, I will come to you. I will give you this instrument. Will you pay money to me? Please think. right? Agreement says 15th February, on 20th January, I will come to you, I will give you this instrument. I will ask for a payment of 5 lakh. Will you give it to me? You will not give it to me. Why? The agreement, the basic agreement or basic right idea of this deal is that you will give the money only on 15th February. But I need money. All of you agree? I need money. So what should I do? I will now be able to sell it to somebody else in the market. Now I'll be able to sell this instrument to somebody else in the market. That is the reason, understand this, that is the reason my name, receiver's name is not written. All of you will be okay with this? My name, receiver's name is not written here. Anybody who is owning the instrument on 15th February, you will give the payment to them. Right? That is the reason my name is not written, receiver's name is not written, but the payer's name is actually written. All of you okay? This instrument is called as commercial bill. Such an instrument is called as commercial bill. Can we go forward now? Sir, is there any interest? Absolutely no interest is given. There is no interest given on this. Why? Please understand this. I'll repeat it again. Please understand. This is how companies operate. This is how market operates. Right? Credit cycle. This is how credit cycle operates. Can we go forward? Okay. So commercial bill, also known as trade bills or bills of exchange. These are drawn by one business, firm or company to another in lieu of credit transaction, in exchange for credit transaction. These are short-term instruments generally issued for a period of up to 90 days. These are tradable and banks will provide credit on this. That is concept of bill discounting. That is, I can pledge it and take a loan. Right? That is called as a bill discounting. Now, again, understand this. Now, there is a new type of setup which has been promoted by government, or to be very precise, RBI. Listen to me very carefully. A new system has been introduced. This is becoming very, very famous today. This is becoming very, very famous. The system that I'm referring to is called as trade receivable e-discounting system. Trade receivable e-discounting system. Now, what is this a trade receivable e-discounting system? Let's start. In short, this is called as TREDS. In short, this is called as TREDS. TREDS system will help in bills discounting. Bills discounting. How so? Let me explain it. Under the TREDS system, it's a very simplified version I'm teaching you. There are 3 participants. Under the TREDS system, it's a platform. In simple terms, it's a website. There are 3 participants. One, the person who has sold certain goods or services, the seller. Second one is a buyer, and the third one is financier. The first one is a seller, second one is a buyer, third one is a financier. All the three of them are registered on the platform. All the 3 of them are registered on the platform. Now, how the platform will work, how the system will work, let me explain. Imagine there is a company A which has sold raw materials, to company B, and both of them are registered on the TREDS platform. Now, what company B will do is they will basically raise a receipt, raise a bill on the platform itself. That is, company B now says B will pay, let's say, I'll take again same numbers. B will pay 5 lakh rupees. This kind of a document is raised. In the platform. Raised means B is creating a document in the platform itself which says 5 lakh rupees B will pay, right, to A on 15th February. Right? So today, let's assume it is 1st of January. Now, what if A requires money on 20th January? What if A needs money on 20th January? So what A can do is, A will take this instrument which has been issued by B. it will sell this instrument. It will sell this instrument to financier. It will basically sell this instrument to a financier. On 20th January, financier will take the instrument, pay money to A, but will collect certain charges. Will collect certain charges from A. And now, financier has the instrument. Financier will wait till 15th February. On 15th February, financier will approach B, submit this instrument. B will pay 5 lakh rupees to financier. B will pay 5 lakh rupees to the financier. This system is called as trade receivables e-discounting system. Trade receivables e-discounting system. All of you okay with this system? Anybody has any issue? I'll repeat it. Listen to me carefully. Please listen to me carefully. Step number 1, A will sell certain goods to B. B will issue an instrument which says, or which basically accepts that B will have to pay. B owes money of 5 lakh rupees to A. But the money will be paid on 15th of February. Now on the 20th of January, A requires money. 20th January, A requires money. They cannot go to B. B says, I will pay it only on 15th February. So what can be done? A will sell this instrument to B. A will sell this to a financier. Financier will pay money to A, but again collect certain charges. They will impose charges and collect certain charges. Now financier is owning the instrument from 20th January to 15th February. 15th February, financier will present the instrument to B, collect money from B. This is basically the concept of trade receivable e-discounting system. Right? This is right concept of trade receivables e-discounting system. Can I go forward now? Who can be a financier? NBFCs. NBFCs are playing the role of financiers now. NBFCs, non-banking financial companies. Done. Can we go forward? And some of you will simply say, sir, but why will the company A pay? Right? Why will the company A pay? Right? The charges, etc., etc. My dear, please understand what is the option available to A. You tell me. Apart from this, what is the option available to A? Right? A requires money. Fact of the matter is very simple. On 20th January, A requires money. For what purpose? They want to pay wages. They want to pay for raw materials. They want to pay electricity bills. There is no money. Now tell me what is the option. Some will simply say, sir, right, I will go to a bank. I will go to a bank and take a loan. My dear, any guarantee when the bank will give loan? Let me know. Those who are saying, I'll approach bank, why should I go through this route, etc., etc. Any guarantee the bank will give loans? What if you're a risky borrower? And let's say bank has agreed to give you a loan. Any time period within which bank loan will be issued? Please do let me know. Any time period within which a bank is going to issue the loan on this? No guarantee. I hope you understand. No guarantee. Because lot of documentation work is there, etc., etc. But here RBI says, this is from RBI document. RBI says within 24 to 48 hours, A will get the money. Within 24 to 48 hours, A will get the money. Right? So don't you think, right? This is a system where whenever there is an immediate liquidity requirement for companies, I repeat, whenever there is an immediate liquidity requirement for the companies, they can use the TREDS system. All of you okay? Right? Whenever there is an immediate liquidity requirement, they can use the TREDS system. That is the importance of TREDS system. Very, very famous now. Very, very famous. Please be very, very careful. Okay. Done. Can we go forward? What if B will fail to pay? My dear, case. It will become a judicial case now. Any repayment, if it is not honored, it will be a judicial case. Okay. Done. So these are the instruments under the money market. These are the instruments under the money market. right? Repo, reverse repo, call money market, commercial papers, certificate deposit, as well as commercial bills. Now let me shift to capital market. Shift to the other side. Shift to the capital market. Shift to other side now. What is the meaning of capital market? In capital market, the lending or borrowing, or simply the money that is raised, instruments that are traded will be for longer duration, medium duration, and longer duration. Okay. Whenever you say medium or longer duration, it simply means more than 1 year. Capital market is divided into two parts. Capital market is divided into two parts. One is called as a debt market, and the second one is equity market. What is the difference between a debt market and equity market? Understand this carefully. In equity market, the instruments which represent ownership are traded. I'll repeat the statement. Listen to me very carefully. In equity market, instruments which represent ownership are traded. Whereas in the debt market, instruments which represent a liability, which represent a debt, are traded. For example, based on the past discussion, you tell me, if a company will issue a bond, is it okay if I say it will be done in a debt market? Yes or no? If a company will issue a bond, right, where is it issued? Where it is traded? It is traded in the debt market. On the other side, what if a company will issue a share? What if the company will issue a share? Right now, tell me, in the past, at least we have discussed this point. Shares represent ownership. Correct? Shares represent ownership. We have discussed this again and again. We have discussed this. So if a company will issue a share and the shares are traded, it has to happen in the equity market. If a company or government will issue bond, that has to be traded in the debt market. Very, very simple idea. Okay. Now let me go forward. Whenever you say a debt market, different types of debt instruments are there. Bonds, in simple terms, bonds. Now many of you will complicate, sir, there is something called as debenture, there is bond, etc., etc. Please understand, from one country to another country, classification might keep on changing. But if you read NCERT books, they will clearly say bond is nothing but a debenture. The other name is nothing but a debenture only. Okay, so do not complicate it. Keep it simple according to NCERT. Now come to the point here. There are different types of bonds. One, convertible bond. Second one is non-convertible bond. Third one is zero coupon bond. And the fourth one is indexed bond. Convertible, non-convertible, zero coupon, and indexed. Now let me start with the first one, convertible and non-convertible. Now listen to me very carefully. Let's assume I will issue this bond to you and the maturity period of the bond is 3 years, and I'll simply say I will issue the bond and the bond will mature and I'll repay the 100 rupee. Bond maturity period is 3 years. I will allow the bond to mature, and after 3 years, I will return the 100 rupee to you. Can I call this as non-convertible bond? Non-convertible means basically the bond, an instrument, cannot be converted into any other form. This instrument cannot be converted into any other form. It will be issued as a bond and will mature as a bond. Non-convertible. Now then there is a convertible also. What do you mean by convertible? Look at this very carefully now. I will issue the bond to you, but I will give you an option. I will issue the bond to you, but I will give you an option. After 2 years, if you want, instead of one bond, I will convert this into one share. Right? I'll repeat the example again. Listen carefully. I will issue this instrument, but I'm giving an option to you. After 2 years, If you want, I will convert this one bond to one share. Can I now call this as convertible bond? Everybody is okay? Can I now call this as a convertible bond? So a convertible bond is a debt instrument which can be converted into another type of instrument such as shares. Non-convertible bonds are debt instruments which are issued and mature as bond only. They cannot be converted. Now understand this very carefully, slightly technical, understand this very carefully. Zero coupon is a concept. The term zero coupon, it is a concept. It can be applied to a bond. It can be applied to any other instrument as well. Is my statement okay with all of you? The term zero coupon is not just simply associated with the bond. It is a concept. This zero coupon can be in the form of a bond also, can be in the form of other instruments as well. But what is the meaning of the term zero coupon here? What do you understand by the term zero coupon? Let me start. Please look at this bond and tell me, I'll come back to previous slide, don't worry. Please look at this bond and tell me what is the face value of the bond. Let me know. Please look at the bond and let me know what is the face value of the bond. Face value is 100 rupee. All of you are okay with this? Face value is 100. And I've written a coupon rate. I have written a coupon rate here. What is a coupon rate? 6%. Which means, and some of you are saying, sir, read Baba, read very carefully. And some of you are saying, right, 200 rupees, 300 rupees, 100 rupee. It is there in the board only. Okay, so which means annually, I'll give you a coupon rate of 6%, which translates to 6 rupees. All of you okay with this? Now, instead of this, what if I issue one more type of an instrument where, listen to me carefully now, where I will issue the instrument to you at less than face value. I will issue the instrument to you at less than face value, and upon maturity, I will pay face value to you. Everybody is okay with this statement? Anybody has a problem? There is an instrument, let's say face value is 100 rupee. I will give the instrument to you, but I will not collect 100 rupee. I will collect, let's say, 90 rupees. Can I call it as a discounted price? Let me know. Can I call it as a discounted price? Discounted means less than face value. So I will issue this instrument at a discounted price. Arey Baba, very difficult, etc. The price of the bottle, 100 rupee. I will sell it to you not at 100 but at 90 rupee. Can I say it is a discounted price? Let me know. Can I call this as a discounted price or not? Arey Baba, participate. At least those who are asking the question, at least those people participate. Otherwise, it's like I'm talking into a void. The face value of this bond is 100. Instead of issuing it at 100, instead of selling it to you at 100, if I sell it to you at 90 rupees, can I call it as a discounted price? Yes. So in case of zero coupon instrument, whatever is the face value, I will not sell it at face value. I will sell it below the face value at discounted prices. And upon maturity, I will give face value to you. That is, if you look at the example that I've written here, imagine a bond is there, and it can be applied to even other instrument. So imagine a bond is there, bond's face value is 100, the company will sell this, right? Company will sell this to the investor at 90 rupees, issued at discount. And upon maturity, I will give the face value of the bond to the investor. Now, please understand the next point. Please understand the next point. Did I calculate any coupon rate in this example? Think of it. Please think of it. Did I calculate any coupon rate in this example? Can I say I did not calculate any coupon rate? I did not calculate any coupon rate. Hence, such bonds are called as zero coupon bonds. All of you okay with this? I did not calculate any coupon, right? Coupon is not there. Coupon rate is not there, because understand the technicality. Do not say you are incurring losses. Some of you say, hurry, I'm not getting any coupon, so I'm incurring losses. No, you are not incurring losses. You have invested 90, you are getting 100. Only technicality is that coupon rate is calculated on the face value of the instrument. And in this example, there is no coupon rate calculated on the face value, hence called as zero coupon bonds. Hence called as zero coupon bonds. All of you okay? So any instrument which is issued at a discount, and upon maturity face value is given, it is said to be having zero coupon, right? It is said to be having zero coupon. And remember this, very, very famous, please remember this. Treasury bills are issued at a zero coupon. Is it okay? Treasury bills are issued at a zero coupon, right? That is, imagine a treasury bill is there. Imagine this is a treasury bill. Face value is 100 rupee. Government will sell it to you at 90 rupees. And government will sell it to at a discount of 90 rupees. And upon maturity, government will give you 100 rupees. So treasury bills carry the concept. These are zero coupon instruments. Treasury bills are zero coupon instruments. And some of you will keep on asking me, what is the use of all of it? Why should anybody invest in this kind of instrument? My dear, you tell me. If you're a kind of investor who wants guaranteed 100 rupee returns after, let's say, 50 years. Again, although nobody would want 100 rupee after 50 years, but let's assume if you're a kind of investor who wants a guaranteed fixed amount of returns, don't you think zero coupon instruments are exactly for you? Think of it. Please think of it. You're a kind of investor who wants a fixed amount of returns. And after a certain time period, after 1 year, after 10 years, after 20 years, after 50 years, whatever it is, don't you think zero coupon bonds are exactly tailor-made for you people? Okay, that is the reason there is a huge demand in the market for zero coupon instruments. There is a huge demand, in fact. Okay, so let me stop the discussion here. There are a couple of more instruments: indexed bonds, right? Green bonds, sovereign gold bonds, etc., etc. We will take it up in the next class. We'll simply take up the other instruments in the next class. Let's solve the previous questions. Let's solve the questions from the previous year from the Finance Commission as well as a budgeting concept. Okay, let's solve questions then. Let's start. Okay, 48% of answer correctly. Why? Polity classes are over. Economics classes, now we have discussed all of this. Even then, some of you are making mistakes. The Department of Revenue is responsible for the preparation of union budget that is presented to the Parliament. Is it correct? No, it's not Department of Revenue. It is Department of Economic Affairs. Department of Economic Affairs. In fact, it is there in one of the slides. No amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without authorization of Parliament. Yes. All the disbursements made from the public account also need authorization of the parliament. No. Right? So 1 and 3 are wrong. 2 is correct. Which of the statements above is or are correct? The right option will be option C, only 2. Next one. Okay, 66% have answered correctly. Let's start. There has been a persistent deficit budget year after year. Which of the following actions can be taken by the government to reduce the deficit? Reduce revenue expenditure. Definitely yes, that will reduce the deficit. Introduce new welfare schemes, it will increase the deficit. Rationalize the subsidies. 1 is correct, 3 is correct. Now many of you ask me, sir, what do you mean by rationalization? Rationalization simply means various policies or measures which are taken by the government to ensure right amount of subsidy reaches right beneficiary. We'll discuss this also, don't worry. Right? Is it okay if I say rationalization means various policies or various measures which are taken by the government to ensure right subsidies are reaching the right beneficiaries? For example, today, please tell me, should every household in India get LPG subsidy? Does it make any sense to you? I'll repeat the question by the way. Should every household in India get a LPG subsidy? No, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Don't you think only some of the households which should be targeted by the government, they should get subsidies? We are doing it by the way. We'll discuss it when I take up subsidies. We are doing it by the way. Rationalization of subsidies will reduce the expenditure, reduce the deficit. So 1 is correct, 3 is correct. Right option is option A, 1 and 3 only. Now, let me discuss this. I've not discussed the concept in the earlier class. Let me discuss this. You'll come across two terms. One is called as vote on account. Second one is called as interim budget. One is vote on account. Second one is interim budget. Interim, look at the English term. It's an English term, interim. Interim means temporary, for the time being. Interim means for the time being or temporary. Whenever in a particular year you have elections, I hope you understand, next year we are going to have it. So whenever in a particular year, if we have elections, the government knows after 2 or 3 months, a new government will be there. So for the time being, for temporary purposes, the government might announce a budget just like a normal budget, but that is a temporary budget or interim budget. Why I'm saying temporary or interim budget? A new government might announce a budget again. That power is there with the new government. So interim budget, just like a budget, we are going to tell how much expenses, how much revenues, etc. But please understand, it is interim means for time being. The new government can announce one more budget which is applicable for financial year. On the other side, vote on account. Vote on account simply means either for 2 months or 3 months for certain time period. Only the expenditure part of the budget will be discussed. Right? Under vote on account, government will simply say for next 2 months or let's say next 3 months, how much money is required. Only that will be discussed, that will be passed, and you can withdraw the money from consolidated fund. So vote on account discusses only the expenditure side, whereas interim budget discusses both expenditure as well as right the financial the revenue side or receipt side. So vote on account deals only with expenditure side. Statement is correct. Interim budget does not give the complete financial statement like a full budget. This is wrong. Okay, it will give full financial statement, but only thing is that it is temporary, right? A new government can announce a new budget. It has the powers. So first statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option A, only one. Okay, now descriptive question. Public expenditure management is a challenge to the government of India in the context of budget making during the post-liberalization period. Clarified. Let me see if there is only one or two. Okay, there are two questions. Done then. So we'll do one thing. Let me stop the discussion today. Okay, let me stop the discussion today. Next week, I repeat, next week, that is on Tuesday, we'll discuss the descriptive questions. We will discuss the descriptive questions as well. Okay, done. Now, again, a reiteration, again, announcement. Next week, Monday, there is no class. Saturday, Sunday, as usual, right? You do not have economic class. Monday, no class. New Year, enjoy. Tuesday, we will meet back again and we will continue the discussion. Okay. Now, any doubts that you people have, please do let me know. Otherwise, we can stop the discussion for today. Any doubts that you people have, please do let me know. I hope the leaderboard is visible to you. Okay, leaderboard is visible. So, any doubts? 15% weight given to the state, then states with high percentage share in total population of country will be given more money. Absolutely correct. That is what we have discussed. Right? Based on the parameters, certain amount will go to population, but within population, a state with very high population will automatically get more funds. Okay. Can papers issued within traders be called zero coupon? What kind of papers are you talking about? Okay. Sir, why it is said e-discounting as it is the same holder, go to the bank, discount the same. E-discounting means it's a platform now. Electronic discounting. Everything is done virtually. That is the reason. Okay. Public debt is overall borrowing except budgetary borrowings. Public debt generally means how much money you have borrowed. How much money you have borrowed and you need to repay. But liabilities are the total amount of money, whether you have borrowed or you've asked somebody else to borrow, you'll have to repay. So liabilities will be bigger, much bigger compared to the public debt. What is commercial bill? Commercial bills are basically instruments. These are instruments which are issued by traders. When one trader will purchase something from the other trader, payment will not be done immediately. It will be done after certain time period. So for that time period, certain instrument will be issued. That is called as commercial bills. Okay, done. So let me stop the discussion today here. Next week we'll continue. Okay, next week, that will be next year as well. So Tuesday, let's meet. Have a great weekend ahead. Enjoy. Take care. Read, revise, and see you next year. Right, that is on Tuesday, 6 a.m. Take care. Happy New Year, by the way.